Welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time and talk about them. Sometimes we watch films in between the best and worst, you know? Don't know why I added that into the intro. My name is Ben Errington, and I'm joined by regular co-host, Mr.
Andy Conduit Turner. Hello, Ben, and indeed everybody else. How you all doing? Only Ben can answer.
I'm doing all right, and I'll speak on behalf of everybody else listening. I think they're doing all right as well.
It's a spectrum, I imagine, but for those of you who are doing really well, glad to hear it. For those of you who are not doing so well, hope it gets better.
I hope it gets better, and hopefully it will get better across the next couple of hours where we talk about a movie that you may or may not have seen. I kind of like to think a lot of horror fans have seen this film because after putting it out on Twitter I know you put it out on Twitter as well, Andy. Seems like this film's got it gets a lot of love. It's got a lot of fans.
Yeah, I think a lot of people got in touch with this, said like, oh, I know Janine was on, a friend of the show, previous guest, Janine Pipe came on and said, love it, one of her favorites. A couple of folks came on, I think Dan was on saying, "Oh, I haven't seen it for years. Wonder how it's aged." Feels like a lot of folks got some fond memories of this as a bit of horror cinema.
Yeah, crazy to think that this is like what 16 years old as well, because it feels like one of those films that is fairly recent release. Does have a sequel as well that I didn't even know existed. And now I'm looking at the list of, stars and directed by and screenplay produced by Sam Raimi. He loves it, doesn't he? He absolutely loves it. Even to this day, he'll go, get me on there as a producer.
Yeah,
Come on.
I'll produce horror things. All right.
I'll produce it. My name's got a lot of weight, Add it to a movie. We're good to go. We're cooking on gas, cooking with gas. What is that saying? I've never understood it.
Cooking with gas, but in the case of this movie, cooking with like leaked pipeline oil, I imagine.
Cooking with leaked pipeline oil. How would you feel about living in a tiny little Alaskan town where at some point, is it legit that there's 30 days of night? Is that legit?
I'm not sure if it's exactly 30 days, but there are loads of places in the northern hemisphere go
Yeah.
far enough north and the sun doesn't come up for
Because that movie Insomnia with Al Pacino and Robin Williams is set in a similar sort of thing, but it's like daytime all the time, 30 days of day.
30 days of day.
And Al Pacino is going nuts.
I
And
imagine that in the 30 Days of Night Town, because of that kind of position on the world, there may also be a 30 Days of Day.
and adjacent 30 days of day. Maybe it's a rom-com, 30 days of night, horrible, terrifying vampire horror, 30 days of day. It's a rom-com.
What's the opposite of vampire? Blood donors?
Yeah. I mean, I guess so, yeah.
Give you like
Lovely,
bones, bring all your dogs to life.
lovely, kindly blood donors. Just turning up and going, look, do you fancy some of my blood? We're the same blood type, luckily. I can't give blood anymore. I recently went to give blood and they said, sorry, your veins are shot. No, not for that reason. Not for any dodgy reason. But apparently, like, oh, we can't find a very good vein, so we would say, don't ever donate blood ever again. And I'm like, what? What? Never ever again? Is it not just a bad day for them?
Yeah, it feels like that's a bad day. I got a warning once. It was when I was doing
Right.
I was doing a lot of running and we've been eating less, and they went, "Oh, you ain't got very much iron, mate. Magneto couldn't get you around here, so
Oh no.
not enough iron. If you can come back in a few weeks and try again, and if you fail, then you'll be banned for a year from giving any of your blood."
Banned for a whole year.
Yeah.
Why did they speak in those terms? Like you're
Make
banned,
it a threat. Make sure you study, I guess. So I did study. I took my iron supplements every day.
and then you gave blood and it was all right. Before that, your blood was just Vimto. They just went, this old watery Vimto is not going to be good enough.
Nothing in it.
Yeah.
There's no
I was disappointed. I was disappointed as well because it is kind of like one of those good deeds you do, where you can feel a bit happier about your
All you're gonna do
existence
is do
on
a bit
planet
of
Earth.
bleeding.
Huh?
Really easy as well. Just do a bit of bleeding.
Do a bit of bleeding, have a lovely biscuit afterwards.
Yeah, you get
Uh,
an orange club sometimes. Yeah, message from your
mm,
friends at Horror Hangout, everybody. Do
yeah.
give blood if if you're able to. If you've not been banned for having eaten beef in the 90s or not having enough iron or having shit veins, if you've not been banned for
Beef in the 90s.
any of those or
Mad
any
cow
other,
disease.
then
Yeah, do it. It's a good.
then
It's one of those things. It's one of those selfless things. You know, when we say there are no selfless acts, it feels like one of those selfless acts, but you do get like a little bit of a
biscuit and
little bit of a hit,
kicker.
a
Everyone's so
biscuit,
nice
but
to you.
it does make you feel good, like you're making a difference, you know, as well. So yeah, do that. Lots of blood is donated against
Unwillingly.
the will of a lot of people in today's movie, um, which is pretty horrific, I guess.
Yeah.
But you know,
Before we even get into it, Ben, you know, one thing I'd say to these vampires, should I have the opportunity to,
go on.
eat fucking sensibly. Always just jump
Yeah.
on people, shake. You have to shake your head about that much to get the blood
Mm.
out. Do it
They're,
nicely.
they're knocking about in this town as well for 30 days. So I feel like you need 30 days of sustenance. And I feel like if on day one you're going in and just murdering everyone, I feel like that's bad. I feel like then for 29 days you're going to be starving. I feel like just draw it out a bit longer. Don't kill everyone and hunt down 5 people for the next 29 days. That feels unnecessary.
Do you reckon it's like we don't see the vampires in the film all the time? Do you reckon it's like a holiday for them, right? It's like a package tip tour. It's like an all you can eat, obviously. So they've gone mad and overdone it like anyone might. Do you reckon when we don't see them on camera, they've like are catching up on their reading, they're doing other stuff?
You know, it sounds silly, but I did kind of have that thought. I kind of thought it'd be dead boring, like just milling about in this like abandoned town, where the sun never comes up. You don't. I'm assuming vampires don't need to go to sleep if the sun doesn't come up, right?
Yeah, they're just
So they're awake 24/7. It seems that all they do is kind of like walk around screaming and talking in their little language. That's fine.
that language.
I'm not being xenophobic and saying to speak English, talk in your language. It's fine. Keep doing that. But it feels like the only other thing they kind of do is just mill about on rooftops.
They do that bloody home. Busman's holiday.
A busman's holiday. I guess we're made to think the
I
reason
reckon
that
it
they've come,
might be there might be one or two. Sorry, you go.
the reason that they've done this is so they can just, you know, have as much blood as they like and not have to worry about dying every 12 hours. Because I think we've had this discussion before that sure, vampires are immortal and they do live forever. However, as a human being who isn't immortal, they don't have to worry every 12 hours that shit might almost die. You know,
You
we're
just you can die
unless
with
there's
a little flavor stun in this one as well. Just a little glance at it will burn your face off if you're a vampire.
oh yeah, or have a really strong torch in your face.
Yeah, I think there might be them. I reckon we don't see it, but there's maybe one or two of the vampires that's really pissed off that they're doing regular vampire stuff and they're not like they're not making the most of being on holiday when they're lurking about on rooftops. There's one of them that's like
Yeah.
building snowmen on the floor. They do that all the time at home.
Come on, it's lovely round here. It's beautiful. Stare at the moonlight for as long as I like. Great times. Yeah. Busman.
Cancelled all their alarms.
Yeah. Turn off alarm until I set it again. Don't even have
Yeah.
to change it. Don't even change it to a day. Okay. Let's jump into some horror news before this. So last week we were just off the back of the Evil Dead Rise trailer, and then we did our reaction. That's on YouTube now. If you want to watch that, that's available for everybody to watch. It was on Patreon before, but now it's on YouTube. And then pretty much the next day after our last episode went live, we got the Renfield trailer. Nicolas Cage bares his fangs as Count Dracula in Universal Monsters comedy. So it stars Nicholas Hoult as Renfield and Nicolas Cage as Count Dracula. And the trailer is so it's like a modern day take on Dracula knocking about and Renfield being kind of done with his role as being his bitch. Not bitch, but you know, he's in a toxic relationship with Dracula. He needs to get out of. Is there life beyond serving the infamous Prince of Darkness? That's not Ozzy Osbourne. That is Nicolas Cage as Dracula. Did you see this trailer?
I've not watched it yet.
I feel like I shouldn't have brought this up in the news because I didn't watch it either. But do you know I'm fully invested in the avoid trailers. I know that sounds silly as someone who reacted to a trailer on YouTube and on this podcast, but I don't know, things like this where I think I might just wait and see, you know. I've seen like some clips and I've seen all the screenshots and the poster and everything. I think yeah, it looks like it's going to be a good time, and I'm sure Nicholas it's the one of the roles that Nicolas Cage looks born for. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I'd see Nicolas Cage in pretty much anything, but looks like a good cast. It's apparently it was a pitch from Robert Kirkman, um,
Of the Walking Dead fame.
of The Walking Dead, and Chris McKay, who is involved in Tomorrow War and Lego Batman movie, who directed the movie. Sorry. So yeah,
That sounds good.
looks
I mean,
looks interesting.
I'll absolutely go and see it, but I warn you now, everyone involved with Renfield, I have a very high bar for vampire comedies.
Okay.
You're gonna have to get up pretty in the early in the morning, or I guess as a vampire, pretty early in the evening, like dusk,
Yeah.
if you're gonna beat Dracula, Dead and Loving It, with Leslie Nielsen himself.
Oh yeah, of course.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
getting up at dusk. Vampires was absolutely love January.
mhm,
Amazing. What's that? 3:45. See you later, sunshine.
off you pop.
Off your pop. Um, okay, what else have we got? So apparently Eli Roth is finally making his Grindhouse movie spin-off, Thanksgiving, which is one of the trailers that was in between the Grindhouse movies, Planet Terror and Death Proof. Do you remember the trailer very well?
Oh, it's been a long time now. It's been a
It's
long
like a
time. I'm aware of it, but I couldn't repeat any of the stuff that happens in it
it's
now.
like a slasher that happens over Thanksgiving, and there's lots of like turkey based um deaths. I think there's someone with their like head, their bodies like a turkey, and then severed heads attached to it. So very like tongue in cheek um B movie type
Okay.
horror. But yeah, apparently Eli Roth is going ahead and making it. Is Eli Roth as big a heavy hitting name as he used to be? It says here horror guru, but I don't know. There was a time when anything Eli Roth did, I would have been like, oh yeah, I'll check that out. But now maybe I'm a bit more like, well,
Yeah, I mean, I'll turn up and watch it. Like it's one of those things. Like I'd always pay attention to this kind of thing coming out, but I always a little bit have a little bit of skepticism and caution when something's been left so long.
yeah,
Between it's been a long time between drinks. Like we have a few problems with like legacy sequels, right? Like all these things that are coming back after an
mm,
awfully long time, and you wonder would they have been bigger and more relevant at the time they were, incepted and what have you, or as leaving them perhaps let it fade out. But
yeah,
everything I've read about it has been nothing but positivity and excitement. People have been wanting him to do it, and I love a silly slasher idea. It's no
yeah.
Boo Year's Eve, of course, but
It's no Boo Year's
can't
Eve.
have it all.
Of everything, I want to see Werewolf Women of the SS more in
Yeah.
terms of the trailers that we got, the Grindhouse trailers. I yeah, I really do want to see
What about
that.
the
But
Edgar Wright one? Don't with
yeah,
Emily Booth in it, right?
with Emily Booth, yeah, exactly. Um, maybe they'll make that one. Maybe they will make that one day, and I'll get Emily Booth back in, and then we can have an exclusive interview
Comment
with
comment
her.
on comment on our own movie. Good times.
Yeah. And the only other news that I've got is that Wednesday has been officially confirmed for season two. Obviously, it's been doing incredibly well. It's been like a record-breaking hit for Netflix. I think it was like top of the most watched TV shows for a little while. Um, yeah, and then they've signed it up for a season two. I still haven't checked it out, but I probably should, and I will.
Yeah, I still really want to get and watch it. I will get and start it sometimes. You have to take a little bit of a run up to start a TV series sometimes because
Hmm.
you got to make sure you got the space to carry on with it, right, and get to the end. Like there's two risks. One, you don't want to end up falling off it just because you don't have time to go on to the next episode. And two, like you don't want to be doing it just before anything else that's going to demand commitment is about to start as well.
It's hard work, isn't it? It's hard work.
Never such hard
Um,
work.
it
Although to be
is.
fair, like again, scrolling the socials, Wednesday is one of the few things that Netflix appears to be renewing. Like
Yeah.
every other tweet you see at the minute is Netflix has cancelled this after one series. Netflix has cancelled the other thing after one series.
Yeah. Seems like they used to have a lot more patience for seeing how things sort of pan out, but it seems like someone of the Netflix higher ups is ruining it for everybody. But there is a load of stuff. There's a load of stuff. But yeah, that's good news. And Jenna Ortega, obviously a huge year for her, it has been, and 2023 looks like it's going to continue in that vein. With Scream 6, obviously, and I was going to say, is she going to be in the X sequel? But she's dead, right? Spoilers for X.
Yeah, she is.
She is dead.
Unless she's really poorly in the next one. I mean,
Oh yeah,
you
miraculously brought back to
could
life.
could be surprised. Like, they could completely change the theming of it. Like, and
Hmm. Yeah,
say, oh, it's a ghosty thing now.
it's a bloody ghosty. Um. Okay. Apart from that, have we been watching anything
I've got
this
one
last
more
few
bit of
days?
cheeky news, if I
Oh, have
may,
you?
then.
Okay, sorry to fly in
No,
there. Hit me with the news.
there is, for those of you UK listeners, if you're further south than I am, slightly further east than Ben is,
Oh.
um, Horror on Sea is this weekend.
Oh, wait, I did see the shed actually, you know.
Horror on Sea is this weekend. I believe weekend passes are still available. All films are strictly certificate 18. Yeah,
Strictly.
so tickets going from Friday the 13th of January right the way through to Sunday the 22nd. You've got day passes are from 32 quid. You could get things from like you could get passes for the whole weekend. Lots of cool schlocky indie horror that is coming along. There was one in particular that I am now quite keen to see myself, directed by one Pat Higgins that I had a little Twitter exchange with yesterday. In fact,
Oh.
a great sounding movie that sounds right up my alley called Power Tool Cheerleaders versus the boy band of the Screeching Dead. Take that, take that from
Okay, okay.
take that from the title alone. Lots of Troma alumni. It looks like it's going to be a really fun film festival. Everyone who I know is going seems to be really excited for it. Apparently, really good atmosphere.
Everyone who you know is going.
No,
Everyone
everyone who I know who is going.
got you. Sorry,
Not mutually exclusive. Not everyone that knows me is going to it. I don't know everybody that is going, but for
yeah,
that small Venn diagram of people that I do know that are going, tell you
yeah,
what, we're so excited. I'm gonna have to make do with seeing the ones that I can remotely. But if that's in your area, if that's in your locale, what else are you doing
yeah.
this weekend? It's January. Come on, get
Get
yourself
yourself
down.
involved. Exactly. I mean, talking of film festivals as well, Fright Fest Glasgow, the lineup is going to be revealed in just 7 days. So
Oh,
7 days from the date of us recording this episode. So probably a little bit sooner if you listen to this episode now. 16th of January, the films are going to be revealed, and then on the 18th of January is when passes and tickets go on sale, which is exciting, very exciting.
mark your calendars. And that's for Fright Fest. Is that the Glasgow one? You say,
Fright
Ben?
Fest Glasgow, yeah, which is the 10th and 11th of March.
Yeah. So, I
With
mean,
I think there's some warm up films on the 9th as well. Yeah,
well, we haven't worked out the exact logistics just yet, but we are going to cover it in some capacity. It is not far from my house, so
yeah.
we're going to try and have a little weekend of it, aren't we?
Is it merely a stone's throw away from?
Oh, I'd have to throw a stone pretty far. It's about an hour's drive. If I could
Oh
throw a
yeah,
stone in the distance it would take to travel in an hour in the car, be the Olympics, I guess. So, but it's
yeah.
close enough. We can go.
You'd have arms like those two guys who operated the waltzers and Bloody New Year.
I would, spin you into oblivion. The
If
energy
you could throw
crisis
a
would
stone.
be over.
There we go. That's it for news. Anything you've watched in the last
Let me
seven
give you
days?
a little rocket through, Ben. I've been really
I like
inspired by trying to get to
I
trying
like
to
this because
sorry,
sorry, go on. I was gonna say I like this because I feel like you've always got plenty to watch that I'm kind of always taking inspiration from now. So
I've been inspired by a little rush to try and get to the end of stuff at the end of the year. So I'm still trying to mop up a little bit of the bits I didn't get to see.
mm.
Top 10 still intact, I think, but here is what I have watched. Sissy on Shudder.
Yeah.
So it's an Australian horror, yeah, horror black comedy about a girl who is now an influencer online who re-meets an old best friend, and it
Mm.
triggers a lot of bad memories. A lot of fun. Film reviewer Alexi Toliopoulos like prompted me to get on and see this by describing it in his short letterbox review as the head smash of the century. Spot
Okay.
on.
Okay.
Alexi was absolutely right. I can't put it in any better words. Yeah, it was good, a lot of fun. Then I watched your friend and mine, little horror scream queen himself, Justin Long,
Oh
in
yeah.
House of Darkness.
Oh.
You seen this? You heard about this?
No, no, no. I've not seen this.
It is by and large just two characters in there. It begins with the end of an enchanting evening. Justin Long is dropping off a woman he's met in a bar at home, and she invites him in for a drink.
Hmm.
Most of this film is dialogue without any spoilers about things that happen. I don't want to say what happens. 90% of this film is dialogue, but from about minute two of the film, it is so stressful that I wanted to be sick.
Oh God. Oh
Like
no.
not even in a horror sense, all of it.
So
Sometimes
stressful.
just the interaction, I'll have to pull up the cast list so I can do it justice and properly check the actor's name, because there are bits where he is clearly a guy who is he's on the bloody pull, isn't he? He's out there and he thinks that he's struck gold with this woman that he's met. Oh, it's what an idiot. Kate Bosworth, I should have remembered that. So
Oh yeah.
It's Kate
Okay.
Bosworth. But you can tell from the entire situation, he is the guy who thought he's like, chatted up this woman at the bar, but she is absolutely in control of the entire situation. There are so many bits where she ties him up in knots verbally by like going like, he'll say something, goes, "What do you mean by that?" And he's like, "Oh, I just mean, you know," like, and like you just listen to it, and it's like, "Oh no!" It's like
Oh.
honestly, it is so stressful. And there's a couple of other characters that come in a little bit later. I've never had such a palpable sense of danger with nothing actually happening on screen
Okay.
necessarily. But
I like that. I feel like that's one of my favorite genres of film.
oh,
Just
I think you'll,
stress.
I think you'll really like it. Yep. Um, I watched Pray for the Devil, not as
Oh
in
yeah.
devil as in put your hands together and say, "Dear God, please watch over the devil. He gets a hard time." I mean, as in the people that the devil might eat, about a
Uh
big conjuring energy. I feel like this was advertised at cinemas like sort of Q3 last year, and then just
yeah.
seemed to like come and go, and now it's just on streaming. So I watched it on there. Actually, it's got a lot of the same energies you get a lot in lots of exorcism and possession films, but it's well acted. I enjoyed it. I watched Scare
Nice.
Me on Shudder as well. It's the it's like the Shudder original that has two
Yeah.
writers that tell each other scary stories, and it's not really done with effect or anything. It is just them telling stories in this cabin.
Hmm.
Um,
I'm I'm pretty sure. So it's directed by Josh Rubin, that one, isn't it? I've
yeah,
not actually seen this one. I'm pretty sure when it came out in 2020, Luke was a
Luke really
big
liked it.
advocate of this film. It's got Aya Cash in it as well, isn't it? From The Boys, the one who plays Stormfront.
Yes,
Yeah,
it
I
does.
definitely need to
It was
check that
it
out.
was it was really good. Does an excellent troll impression. It's very good. I enjoyed that a lot. It's funny, then it's quite dark as well. I liked that. And then I watched one from sort of milkers, cult horror filmmakers. Okay, combine the word film and makers together there.
They're milking it for all it's worth.
They
This
are,
bloody film.
and they did with their film, the Psycho Sisters, the American Mary, who it's about a medical student who
Oh yeah.
takes work in the body modification community. You know what? Hands up to this one. I went in expecting far less than I actually got. I thought it was going to be schlocky, low budget, over the top, but it's made with clearly a great deal of passion, and actually is far deeper than I expected from going in.
Hmm.
It's making me really look forward to catching their new movie, which I should very quickly bring up.
That's
I haven't forgotten.
starring Catherine Isabel from Ginger Snaps, isn't it?
Yes, and she's also I mostly knew her from Freddy versus Jason. She's one of the disposable teenagers in that.
Okay. Disposable teenagers. Yep. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, Catherine Isabel, and let's have a look.
Someone of a cult film as well, isn't it? American Mary, as far as I'm aware.
I mispronounced their name, sorry, it's the Soska sisters, and their new film that is coming up. is annoyingly not yet listed here on Letterboxd. I'll have to Google that shortly and bring it up. But their new film is talking
Is it
about
called Unseen?
no, it is not. It's about like
Ah,
it's got the Hellraiser energy that I was hoping for. That has like the kind of sexual depravity undertones to it as well.
is
I'm
it
looking for
on
extreme
the
experience.
edge?
That's the Badger.
Yeah, I knew
Good
I'd
work,
get there.
teamwork. Yeah,
Team works.
it was a lot deeper than I expected, and yeah, for especially for people that aren't dealing with Hollywood budgets, I think it was delightfully made. Had some
Hmm.
interesting things to it, and it's kind of the dirtiness that I didn't get from the new Hellraiser. Give these
Ah, I see.
give this pair a new Hellraiser movie. I tell you, you get what you
Yeah,
get what you're looking for.
get
Um,
him in there.
I watched Scare Package 2 on Shudder.
Oh,
A little bit meta for some, I think. Yeah, but it's fun. I finished watching with Karen What We Do in the Shadows. The latest series is on Disney Plus. We spent ages going.
oh, nice.
Karen asked me quite regularly, "When's the new series What We Do in the Shadows out?" Pretty sure it's out in the US already, and I kept checking the BBC iPlayer, going, "It's just the first three on there, mate. So I can't watch it yet." And then I happened to be on Disney Plus for something else, and he goes, "Oh, it's on there now." That's
Oh,
why. That's why I've not
four.
seen it.
Is it four series we've got now?
Yeah, that's the fourth season.
Fourth season.
What
I,
you
I,
what you've come to expect from the last few. It's funny.
oh yeah, it's good. I think maybe the first three seasons I've seen, so I need to catch up with season four.
Yeah, don't
That's a
don't look
real.
on the iPlayer, mate. It's on Disney Plus now.
Don't look on a bloody iPlayer. It's just one of those good, things you can just kind of stick on, and it's a good, nice feel good, and just a really good cast as well in it. So
In
yeah,
20 minutes, 21 minutes or whatever it is for an episode. Lovely.
perfect.
Last couple for me, especially if you're in the UK right now, horror adjacent. It's sci-fi and it's comedy, but I'm going to say it anyway because it's a bit weird and out there. Beyond the Infinite 2 Minutes is a Japanese comedy movie about time travel and the like.
Yeah, is
You
that the one
seen
with
it,
the? No, I'm not seeing it. I think that was another one Luke was an advocate of
Luke?
that I never got around to watching.
Um, Tell you what, Ben, not to light a fire under you, but get and do it now. It's on all four in the UK as I speak.
Oh,
I went on
okay.
there. I think it's still on there for another 6 days until it goes off,
Oh wow,
and it
okay.
is about an hour and 5 minutes long.
Wow.
Um, but
Okay.
I loved it. I don't want to spoil the very very basic outline to begin with. Is the guy who owns a cafe realizes that the camera in his cafe downstairs is 2 minutes ahead of the monitor in his bedroom.
Hate it
So
when that happens.
you can see 2 minutes. You can see 2 minutes into the future via this security system. Um,
Yeah.
I think it's probably one of the simultaneously most complex and simple things that's been ever
Yeah.
recorded. But a really, really tight cast. It is in pretty much one location for the entire time, split between two or three rooms of this place.
Hmm.
Um, and as you see from the behind the scenes bits it shows you during the credits, they filmed this on phones.
Oh
But the
wow, okay.
complexity and how tightly the entire thing is timed, because on a couple of occasions you'll see one side of the conversation where the person who you are following is talking to himself from 2 minutes in the future, and then he will go downstairs and be the other side of the conversation that he is then having with the other person, and it gets more and more it's so good.
If you think about it too much, you
It's
will have an
really
aneurysm.
it's really really clever. I loved it. And then last two to finish off. Geez, been a busy week. I
Wow.
I watched Glorious. That was another one of my Shudder things that I wanted to watch in the
Oh
last.
yeah, I've
The
seen
guy
that.
in a toilet cubicle with a J.K. Simmons as like a eldritch being, like an elder
Yeah.
god. Yeah, it was good, a lot of fun. And finally, I went back in time and watched Motel Hell.
You went back in time, like in Infinite Beyond the Infinite 2 minute style.
Yeah, but except I used my computer
Motel
to
Hell.
watch a film
80s? 80s?
from 1980.
Oh.
And it's about, I mean, a motel is nominally in it. It's mostly about horrible farmer. Well, he's not horrible, he's quite nice on the surface, but he's up to all sorts of mischief in that he is capturing people from the roadside and planting them in his garden to make food out of them.
Oh. Does that work? just
Well, he
planting them,
doesn't,
and
he
then
doesn't, he doesn't plant them like plants. He sort of traps them in his garden, and him and
I
his,
got you.
I
I
mean,
got you.
slight spoilers for a film that is, over 40 years old, but they keep the people alive and they feed them with like funnels of food, but they've got them buried in the ground to, I guess, tenderize them until they're ready to kill and make into sausages. And they slit their throats and their vocal cords, they can't talk, and they have them buried and tied up. Um, all these people that they've captured. It's a very, very strange film, and for a while I was like, this is bad, but then it does come together. It's strange. It's a very, very strange title, and that is it for me, film wise, for this week. I say that's it. I've watched bloody loads and been going on for ages. Soz everybody.
That's absolutely loads. I feel like I'm letting the team down, but I've only seen two things of note really this week, but both thematically similar. And you've obviously already mentioned the demonic possessions. So for the first time, I watched it, The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Never seen this before. So directed by Scott Derrickson, the 2005. It's kind of like a courtroom drama meets exorcism horror movie, where a priest, Father Moore, it's basically like the aftermath of an exorcism gone wrong. A priest, played by Tom Wilkinson, is on trial for not really the murder, but like the neglect which led to the death of a young woman called Emily Rose. Laura Linney is in it as well as like the defense attorney. But have you seen this before, Andy?
I'm racking my brains as you talk about it. I mean, sorry everybody, slight spoilers for The Exorcism of Emily Rose if I get this right. This will be the what catches if I know it or not, Ben. Is it the dad? Is it his fault?
No,
No, I haven't seen it then. It's
no,
another one.
no. It's starring Jennifer Carpenter, who is in Dexter, and she was also in the American remake of Wreck, which was called Quarantine. Um, yeah, I mean this is really good. It's an interesting sort of thing for like a film to a horror movie to explore the courtroom side of things and the kind of criminal. Apparently it's based on a true story, but I don't know if it was in America or if the outcome was exactly the same. But yeah, all of the horror kind of takes place in flashback, and it was really effective. And the exorcism stuff and the demonic possession things were genuinely pretty terrifying. And for a film that's like, it definitely wasn't rated like 18 or rated R or anything like that. I'm pretty sure when I started playing it, it came up as PG-13/12A. So
Moderate threat, mild terror.
moderate threat. Jesus Christ, it's terrifying. Some of the screams go. If nobody has done an edit of Emily Rose screaming her head off to like some sort of deathcore metal, I'll be very surprised because it was, I say horrendous, but like horrendous in the best way. Where if you were there, stood there, and someone was screaming at you like that, probably would be horrendous. But watching it in a film, I was like, wow, she's got some pipes. Don't know if it was her actually doing it, of course, or if some sort of sound guy
Professional
gets all
screamer.
the credit. But yeah, in terms of like Scott Derrickson, I think he wrote and directed this. This was pre-Sinister. I look at some of the films he directed. He also directed The Day the Earth Stood Still, with Keanu Reeves,
Keanu
the
Reeves
remake
is a
of
big
that.
silver robot man.
Yeah, it's a weird. And you never guess what? He done a Hellraiser. Can you guess which Hellraiser Scott Derrickson did
Did,
as a man who's watched all the Hellraisers
did he
recently?
do? I mean, it's going to be my comedy guess. Did he do Hellworld, the Hellworld virtual reality game with Henry Cavill Superman? Did he do that?
No, no,
I
doesn't
think
look like it.
he would have done a better one than that. Did he do?
I can give you a clue. He did do one with Doug Bradley in it.
Okay, that's all but like just the last couple then.
Oh shit! So,
Um,
okay, not a
did
good clue then.
did he do Hellraiser 3?
No, later.
Okay. Hellraiser 5?
What's that one called?
I don't know.
He did Hellraiser. Hasn't got a number
Oh
attributed to
no.
it.
Tell me what the name is, and I'll see if I can remember.
He did Hellraiser Inferno,
Oh, okay,
uh,
let me have a look at
which is
Hellraiser.
where a police detective becomes embroiled in the strange world of murder, sadism, and madness.
Oh no, Scott Derrickson. That was one of oh no. Most of them are
He also
two-star
did a film
movies.
called Deliver Us from Evil with Eric Bana.
Oh, and that's the one
Um,
where like if you put those words together, and it's just
yeah,
bloody devil, doesn't it?
yeah, it does. Um, yeah, he's had an
Yeah.
interesting. a bit of a varied career because obviously he seems to be a big horror guy, but then out of nowhere he's just gone. I'll knock out a Day the Earth Stood Still remake and I'll do a Doctor Strange. Why not?
In the grand scheme of things, I think I quite like Scott Derrick's movies in general, but Hellraiser Inferno with the detective,
Shite.
that was a really
Sack
good.
of shite. I mean, he was learning, the year 2000, got a lot of make a lot of mistakes. And the other movie I saw was Possession, Andres
Oh,
Zalowski's Possession, which is on Shudder now. A movie that's kind of always been on my radar, and I've always seen clips of it and thought I should probably get around and watch that if I consider myself a horror aficionado. And I finally did, and what a ride! What a ride! Not just what a ride, but what like lead performances by Isabel Adjani and Sam Neill.
mhm.
Sam Neill of I know exactly. I know you know who he is, but I'm just saying it for the show. I'm saying Sam Neill, Dr. Alan Grant himself. Uh,
Yeah.
he unbelievable. Like so, it's kind of like. Do you know what it reminded me of? Have you seen the movie Marriage Story with Adam Driver and
I've only seen the memes.
you've only seen the memes? So it's kind of like that. It's like this horrific breakdown of a relationship, like kind of like violent, and it's almost like it's really like insane, like really really intense. These really intense emotional games being played, but through the eyes of like I don't want to say a demonic possession because it's a very I can't really specify the nature of it without
But there's
ruining
Goonies
some
in it.
stuff. But
I've
there's
heard a little bit
some
about it.
sort of weird ghoulie going on. Yeah, go on.
I've heard a lot about it. I've been meaning to watch Possession, and I saw that it had come onto Shudder, so I'm gonna fast track it because I've heard previous guest with you, not me, Amber, has done an episode of her podcast, Torn Blood Fire, about it. Apologies, I don't
Okay,
know the name of the
okay,
guest for that episode who was talking about it with her. But I know she flagged it as one of her favorite movies. They talked about it at length, and I thought as I was listening to their podcast, ooh, gonna have to check this out. And then
yeah,
Universe has provided it's on Shudder now.
exactly, yeah. And it feels like a really it's very well made, and it feels like a sort of piece of European cinema, even though it's not. It's English language, but it's set in it's set in West Berlin, I believe. But it is incredibly intense. It reminded me of things like um Rosemary's Baby, probably like Marriage Story is probably not the best. I'm just thinking of something recently where I watched where like a sort of relationship breakdown was done in such a intense way, I guess. Um, it's a bit like I mean it's a bit perverted in places. But honestly, there's a couple of sequences, especially of Isabella Adjani, where she is kind of like the main focus of the sequence where I was like, this is acting. You kind of just this
Yeah,
is insane. Like what? This is insane. And I mean, I'll go back to the exorcism of Emily Rose as well, considering the lead performance from Jennifer Carpenter in that. I had absolutely no idea it was as um just chaotic as that. Like it was just insane. And, when you see some performances, sometimes you're like, that just looks painful. It looks like going to those places emotionally and sort of having them come out of you in this way physically. It looks actually painful. And those sort of performances I can kind of. So yeah, I've been lucky enough to see two really good lead performances of those films, and I recommend both of them. Both of them for different eras, of course, the 80s and then 2005, but two films that I've never seen before.
Possession was already on there, and I've just added as we were talking. Then The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Letterbox confirmed what my brain had drawn a blank on. I have not seen it, so it's on my watch list. Get
Is it? Have you
get to
seen
it.
The Last Exorcism? Could that be the one?
Is the last
That-
Exorcism the one that's got Sir Anthony Hopkins in it?
I've not seen The Last Exorcism, but it's always the one that I get mixed up with The Exorcism of Emily Rose, because it's got very similar posters. Don't know about Anthony Hopkins being in this one actually.
Or is
Doesn't
that
look
the
like it.
ritual? Either
Could be the
way,
ritual.
maybe that is comment itself. Then a lot of exorcism movies can be a little bit similar sometimes.
Exactly, and then but I think both of these were. I mean, well, one's not an exorcism movie. You could loosely call it a possession movie, I guess. But there's a lot of again, there's a couple of other movies I want to list as comparisons, but I don't want to spoil it because I think as soon as I say one or two of them, it'll be like, okay, so it's more like this. Don't really want to do that. So for now, I'll go with my terrible comparison of Marriage Story meets, I guess, Rosemary's Baby. Um,
There you go.
yeah.
Yeah, I look
There we
forward to
go.
seeing that then. But yeah, apart from that, you know, we both have watched though.
Go on.
30 Days a Night.
30 days a night. Sorry. Yeah, 30 Days a Night. This is a film that I think randomly popped up because we were like, let's watch something that's kind of set in the winter
In
as we're
it,
in
yeah. Dark
the
Knight.
throes of January. January can sometimes feel like 30 days of night because the only time you're awake, you're bloody working, aren't you? The only time the sun's up, sorry. Terrible, terrible time of it. But 30 Days of Night, I don't want to say an or maybe an underappreciated gem, but we will talk about it. So, 30 Days of Night is a 2007 American horror film based on the comic book miniseries of the same name. It's directed by David Slade, stars Josh Hartnett and Melissa George. The story focuses on an Alaskan town beset by vampires as it enters into a 30-day long polar night. Bloody hell, that's a long time, isn't it?
Yeah.
What have we got? 6.6 on IMDb, a 51% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, and a 56% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. 3.1 on Letterboxd. We've got some choice reviews. Todd Gaines says, Laurie Strode's son and the batshit crazy bitch from Triangle in the fight of their lives against some hungry vampires. 3.5 stars. Franco says, snow and blood. Big fan of the isolated location. The aerial shot of the chaos overtaking the town is incredible. Yeah, that was good. 3.5 stars as well. And then Chris says, okay, but what kind of name is Eben? 4 stars.
Someone
What?
someone whose name is Evan, whose mum had a cold when she went to register him.
Exactly the joke I was going to go for.
What do
I
you want to
was
put
gonna...
your son? Got to put the paperwork in. Evan.
Evan. I mean, I've never heard the name Eben, but do you mean Evan? No, I mean Eben. Eben. I said Eben. I
Does
said
he mean?
Eben.
Does he mean? I mean, did they plan to lean into like Eben as in like
Ebenezer
like
Scrooge.
black? Like it's like black like 30 Days a Night would be.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe. Who's to say? So as far as I'm aware, we've both seen this before. That's correct, isn't it? And I would say there was definitely a period in my life where I thought this was like the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Just because of like the uber violence and the fact that it's a very like stylized, cool film. And then I've read some of the Steve Niles comic as well, a couple of runs. There's like the first volume, and then there's the second volume, which is called Darker Days. And the third one, Return to Barrow, possibly something like that. I think I've read all three. I own a couple of them as well. You've read some, haven't you?
I've read some of them. I think there's an X-Files crossover there somewhere. I might have picked one up on like a free comic book there, something like that, like literally 30 Days of Night meets the X-Files,
Seriously?
which I guess is 30 Days a Night, except Mulder and Scully turn up and Mulder's dead into believing it, and Scully, despite it having been, countless
You're right,
experiences now where it is a supernatural thing, is like, nah, I believe it when I see it, mate.
I'm just looking at it now. It does look like a thing. One of the reviews is 5 stars. It came early. I'm assuming it got delivered early. No.
So they're rating the customer service more so than the
Yeah. What was the book like? Well, it came early. Yeah, but no, what was the subject matter? What was the actual like was the story like? Is the artwork good? I don't care. It arrived
right.
earlier than it said it was going to.
Yeah,
It could have been blank pages and I would have been all over it. Yeah, I didn't know that, so that's cool. I'll be
that's
interested to
actually odd.
try and find this somewhere.
Yeah, this film, I like you, Ben. I think there was a period in my life where, like early 20s, this came out,
Yeah.
and it was a horror movie. It's adapted from a book, but not your bloody normies comic book. It's not like your X-Men films that were out at the time. This is a spooky horror comic of independent nature for cool, trendy
And
people.
very, very like unique stylized artwork as well, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It's got
Um,
like only thing that I can say close to it. It's almost got like the surrealist, like Arkham Asylum kind of vibe to it.
oh yeah, yeah. So it's almost like it's very scratchy, washy. Um, yeah, almost looks like you're viewing everything through a bit of a snowstorm as well.
Yeah,
A lot of that going on.
like
But yeah, it's
mono,
good.
like monocolored like panels and so on, like
Mm. And
like
and
the
a
red
lot
and the black or the black and white.
and a lot of the lettering's kind of um all scratchy and spooky.
Yeah.
Is that the best way of saying it?
I don't
It's very
remember
scratchy
too
and
much.
spooky.
I don't remember too much of the comic now. It's been many, many years since I read it, but
Mm.
I think it leans into this film that, regardless of what you think of the film, and we'll come to that as we go through it,
Yeah.
conceptually, phenomenally strong idea, right? Because
Yeah, I mean,
it's a
as a
real thing.
concept,
There are parts of the world where it will be, the land of the midnight
because
sun, and then conversely dark all the time somewhere else.
it kind of takes the one thing that one sliver of hope that you've got in any sort of vampire situation where you're like, just got to make it to the morning, just got to make it to the morning. If we can make it to the morning, then we got a fighting chance. But this is like, actually, there's no morning
Morning's
at
ages.
all. Morning's ages away, a month. Can you wait a month? Nah, I don't think I could.
I mean, riffing off like a joke from a tweet or a webcomic now, but no one mentioned to vampires that moonlight is just the rays of the sun reflected off,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, come on, guys. Why aren't you burning then? What's the
That's the
science
sun,
behind that? Yeah, because in this film it does. I mean, even a little bit of the sun will truly fuck you up.
Yeah,
And as we mentioned, a
even a
real
little flick
strong
of it.
torch, a real strong torch. One of those torches. We've all seen like viral videos of like someone with a huge overpowered torch, and they're like, "Watch this," and then they like shine it over. I don't know, a whole town, and it pretty much lights it up like it's daytime.
One of those adverts that you get on your Facebook feed, like infinity billion candle power torch.
Yeah.
So much so that when you see someone do it, it actually has a recoil on it, like
Oh Jesus.
are the ones that
That'd
we
be
get in Jurassic Park that you can literally shine big beams of light through.
Yeah. Oh,
If
they're
it rains.
badass. Um, yeah, so it was a really great, interesting concept, and I think it just really captured something for me in 2007 when I was like watching. Already mentioned like the Grindhouse movies. Watchmen, I think, came out in 2007. Just really captured this what I thought was really cool. Not to say it's not cool, like it is cool, but I'm just saying at that point in my life, I was really into it, and the comics as well.
Super
So
target
revisit.
audience for it, right?
I did check when I watched it last, and I did watch it last in 2016. So it did feel like a fairly fresh watch for me.
Yeah, I think literally, I think I saw it at cinemas and then I got it. I got it on DVD because at that time in my life, something came out on DVD. This was the
Yeah.
halcyon days of the HMV3 for a tenner. Then
The
when
dream.
you would only necessarily want two DVDs, but then you would search for
Yeah.
time immemorial to find like a
You
third
take
one
a
that you
risk
wanted.
sometimes. You take a risk. Here we go. Two disc, two disc special edition.
That's probably the
It's
one I had.
it's probably what you had, and I think it's got a little bit of comic book in there as well. I think
Yeah,
it's actually the whole comic book. It's the whole first volume comic book as
yeah, I
well.
remember it. In fact, that 30 Days of Night comic is probably still in my house somewhere. Yeah, there it is.
There it is indeed.
Um, yeah, like
Sweet.
I'm pretty sure I had it, and then maybe it's probably one of those DVDs that I had, but because you bought a lot of DVDs, maybe you didn't even watch it. Maybe you just watched it the once when someone else came around and they chose to watch it. But
Yeah.
it was definitely a film that you had. I feel like this is a film that a lot of people's memories have kind of let down a little bit, and probably now feel whether they've seen it online to say, "Oh, that wasn't very good," or "That was of its time, or that it's aged." But we'll come to
Yeah.
what we think of it. I feel like it was a film that very much burned very brightly when it had its moment, and then people
Yeah.
now retroactively think, "Oh, bit naff."
Bit
But
naff, yeah. I think, yeah, without throwing it under the bus, I think it's a fantastic concept. It does some really interesting stuff with the concept. Maybe at a certain point, it feels like it runs out of steam a little bit and kind of like fast tracks to the end. Um, Obviously, yeah, we'll get into that once we get into the plot. But yeah, in terms of the cast, we've got Josh Hartnett as Sheriff Eben Olsen, Melissa George as Stella Olsen. They're married but separated in this. Danny Houston as Marlowe. Danny Houston, what's his name from
William
uh,
Stryker,
William Stryker himself?
not original William Stryker from X-Men 2, William Stryker from
Yes.
X-Men Origins: Wolverine.
Yeah, that's the one. Younger
Yeah.
William Stryker. Ben Foster's a stranger in a role which I feel like we've probably seen him play in about 5 films. Just this kind of like, just
Just
kind of like,
just
just
erratic speaking, slightly disheveled man.
erratic speaking, unhinged, untrustworthy type of guy.
You feel
Um,
like he really took all the roles that that guy from the early Police Academy films.
oh God,
The guy, the him.
Ben
Um,
Foster's great. Now I think
yeah,
like this,
I think he
along
did a
with
good
this.
job.
So this came out the same year as 310 to Yuma, which I feel like is probably Ben Foster's best role. But yeah, he's been in some great stuff. Also, Mark Boone Jr., who's in Sons of Anarchy, and he's also in. I'm pretty sure he's in The Dark Knight as well. Maybe The Dark Knight, yeah, or maybe Batman Begins. Um, and then yeah, loads of other minor parts for people making up this sort of town. Um,
I tell you, I want to talk about Ben when we talk about
yes.
cast in particular. I would say unsung horror icon, which probably who probably deserves being mentioned in the conversation a bit more. Look at Melissa George here. Let me go through her her filmography, mostly in horror or horror adjacent things. So obviously this we heard from that other review. She's in Triangle, really surreal.
Yep.
I think Triangle's a polarizing one. Some people think it's fantastic, some people think it's terrible.
I think Triangle's good.
Taristas,
Oh yeah, of course.
Bag of Bones, A Lonely Place to
Amityville
Die,
Horror.
Amityville Horror remake,
Yeah.
Mulholland
We did
Mulholland
we did
Drive.
we did cover Triangle on this very podcast, episode 139, back in June 2020. So any creepy, weird slasher meets time loop horror movie, if you're a fan of that, if it sounds up your street, check that out. But yeah, I agree with you. She does seem to be one of those. I mean, I was never really familiar with her in Home and Away. Was she in any horror
I mean,
themed storylines?
Home and Away, lots of things going on down there. Like a lot of people leaving unexpectedly to move to Yabby Creek. Alf might be calling someone a flaming galah, might be quite cross to them about that.
What's his name?
Don
What's his
Don
name?
Fisher, Don
What?
Fisher, he's the headmaster. He might have caught you mucking about at school. Got
Didn't
you
someone
told off.
vanish? Did someone just like disappear or die? And it's
I mean, par for
Madge.
par for a soap, right?
Yeah.
Madge's neighbours, and it was Harold that got
Ah,
washed off the rocks and turned up with them amnesia later on.
am I mixing up Neighbours and
I think
Home and Away?
now
Looks like it, doesn't it? Sorry, don't mean to do
Irene.
that.
I don't know if Angel was Irene's daughter, but Irene used to be a baddie, used to be a terrible violent alcoholic, but then became nice.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, redemption,
yeah, she was
redemption
a
arc.
great redemption arc for Irene.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Um,
Glad to hear it.
I don't know what else. There was a character called Joey Rainbow, whose dad was a cult leader. He went insane.
Joey Rainbow, was the dad called Saul? Saul?
Yes.
Saul? I've got a fantastic story about Saul, right? I've got a fantastic story. Sorry for fans of horror movies and fans of 30 Days a Night. I want to hear us talk about this film, and we've gone into Home and Away. So Saul, I remember this because my parents used to watch Home and Away when I was a kid, so I remember it being on. I remember someone called Saul. I was at Fort Park with my dad, and there's like a sort of like swimming pool area, and suddenly I just looked up, and my dad was just talking to somebody, just randomly. And I was like, what the hell's going on over there? Who's he talking to? Some stranger. And he came over and he went, I thought that man was Sol from Home and Away. And I went, what? Or I think it was my mum mainly went, what? And he went, yeah, yeah. I said, well, what did you say to him? He said, I just went over and went, are you Sol? And I went, was he? He went, no. Can you imagine that conversation?
I mean, very, very cultural cross section here for any American listeners or people from any other country that isn't the UK or Australia listening. It's not impossible that as a person in the UK, despite it being thousands of miles away, you
Yeah.
can just bump into a star of Australian soaps in the UK
Yeah.
because I think they're more popular here than they are there.
Sol Bennett, his name is.
Yeah.
But what I like to think is that my dad, it didn't cross his mind that a star of an Australian soap would be at Thorpe Park in the UK, just chilling in like the swimming pool area.
Yeah.
I thought that was sold for Home and Away. Like for me, I might look over at someone and go, "That person looks like Soul from
Yeah.
Home and Away," but
You
I
might
wouldn't
hear
have I
you
wouldn't
look.
have the gonads. I wouldn't have the balls to then go over and ask. Even if I thought it was him, I don't think I'd go over and ask.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jesus.
I think the thing you would mostly do is say, "Hey, you look a bit like, yeah, you look a bit like that guy." But yeah, I mean, bringing it back to topic here, I imagine the trials and tribulations of everything that happened to her in Summer Bay
Yeah.
probably got Melissa George in
Mm.
a good step, and also like a good 80% of Hollywood megastars started their careers in Home and Away.
Yeah, of course. Margot Robbie. Who
Chris
else?
Hemsworth,
Who else?
Chris Hemsworth is Home and Away.
Chris Hemsworth, Guy Pearce.
Guy Pearce, yeah,
Neighbors are Home and Away. I'll mix them up again. Can't help it. Um, yeah. So this film starts. Where do we start?
we
So
start
basically, we're
with the out in
introduced to
the
a town.
yeah. Well, before we even see the town, just out in the snow, a mysterious stranger who's only
Oh
called the stranger. We see him. He's out with his coat on. He's got his winter warms on, and
yeah.
he's kind of just waving a boat into the icy port, right?
Yeah, this doesn't let anyone be able to survive this sort of thing, but he just turns up with a big coat on. And this there's a lot about this film that's reminiscent of The Thing. The fact that it's in the snow, the fact that people are kind of like stranded in an icy, snowy environment. But this moment of this guy in a parka coat with the big fluffy hood blowing in the wind and kind of like just walking along like that, very reminiscent of The Thing. I think if you put Ennio Morricone's theme over the top of this sequence, you'd be thinking this has got to be a Thing remake. But no, still scary, still unknown, but no.
With hindsight, then, are we to assume that this is him just showing the vampires where to park their boat when they're coming into town?
Yeah, it looks like he's been briefed and they've gone, look, we got this place and you need to go into town. And here's a checklist of things you need to do because even though most people are heading off, some people are staying behind, but we need to make sure that they can't escape.
Yeah.
And it seems like they've promised him, like, I know we're kind of jumping ahead and we're spoiling something essentially, but they've promised him, they've gone, look, if you do this job for us, we'll turn you into a vampire. I know you really want that.
Yeah, I mean, could he a bit? Is he a vampire tour operator? Because I take it this is a holiday for them.
Yeah, it could
'Cause
be. Maybe,
I
maybe
guess the idea of a ship kind of sailing into a harbor, assuming that the vampires don't operate the ship, got like a Dracula like Voyage of the Demeter, like we're getting a film of
yeah.
that this year.
Oh, all
Um,
right.
yeah, it's great. So we get the Voyage of the Demeter, this ship that once had a crew, for, like basically drifting into port.
Mm,
Uh, if something like that happens, in my film experience, one or two things is going to happen. Either a Dracula's on there, which is
yeah.
this case, or T-Rex going to come popping
Oh
out of the
my
hole
God,
any
yeah.
time now.
But then the boat would just crash into your port, you know. How did he do that? How did he get out and bite everyone? And then go back in his little hole. How did he do that? How did he do that?
I think I think there was meant to be a sideline that there were also going to be raptors on there that would have killed everyone. They abandoned it and hope no one had noticed.
Ah.
But you've got to get up pretty early in the evening to get us. Um, so yeah, we see that, and then we begin to meet some other characters. It's coming to the point where, like every year, the town is going to pretty much shut down
This kind of
because
did remind me. Sorry, Andy, I wasn't
right, you
trying to
go.
jump in on your point. This all meant now you're mentioning Jurassic Park. It reminded me in a way of Jurassic Park because if you remember at the start of the movie, or a little way into the movie, when the storm's hitting, everyone's kind of getting the last boat back to the mainland, and everybody's kind of pissed. And that's the thing, Jurassic Park. There is something very much like an abandoned, haunted house vibe that you get going on with that. That's why it works really well as a horror movie as such. And I was kind of getting this vibe with this. So like anyone who's left behind, that things aren't going to be good for them. You're kind of almost willing them to just make those final boats, those final planes, those final ways of getting away from this place because whoever's left is
It's about to get
essentially
real.
screwed.
And that's what we begin with, right? I think we see Eben and his like sheriff's assistant. They go and,
Yeah.
as is tradition, they change the sign on they change the population sign outside the town that goes from, I don't know, there's like seven, there's like, it's not huge numbers, not like there's 50,000 people that live there, but there are like more people, and then it goes down.
I'd be like,
It gets like 150, right? There's not very many people that stay there.
yeah, I'd be like, I can't be bothered to go and change the sign
That's
because
what you
I'll have to change it
no,
back again eventually.
I was gonna see that. Is that what it's tradition, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
They
keep
change it.
tradition going.
But you know
How
what?
would you feel? How would you feel about being not knocking about in a town for 30 days a night? Do you feel like it would be massively depressing, or
I mean, I'm sure it probably is.
yeah? I
But
reckon it'd be
it would be fine.
fairly. I reckon I'd like to do it once. Say like just I wouldn't like to live somewhere where it happens every year, but maybe just experience it once, or maybe you would go kind of mad. You wouldn't know when to sleep. You'd just be.
Close
You
the
look at the
curtains,
clock.
innit?
You look at the clock, and you get look as close to curtains. You look at the clock and goes at 5 a.m. Was at 5 p.m. I don't know anymore. Who knows? No one knows.
Get 24-hour clock, mate.
I got a 24-hour clock, mate. I don't know about you.
So
17 o'clock.
1700. Thanks. I know exactly what time it is.
Nice one.
But these guys, they're knuckling down for it. They're getting ready. But the first of a few tragedies occur when someone, don't know how they've bloody done it. Don't think you do this in this day and age, Ben. Don't want to get everyone's phone away from them. They'd know the second it was gone.
Yeah.
You're certainly not going to be able to gather all of the phones in town and burn them all up in a big pile.
Stick 'em on a bonfire.
I tell
In
you
like
what, as
some
well, though, unrealistic, Ben. Tell you what, say what you like about vampires. There's some 3210s in there. Fire ain't going to break them.
No, it's not. You pick it up, you go, that's a bit hot, but I can definitely make a call to the authorities.
That's
It's
just
absolutely fine.
the battery's been charged by this.
Now, I will I can get on board with getting rid of all the phones and burning them. I can't get on board with going around and murdering all the dogs in the town.
Do you think? Because you hear later on they go, all the sled dogs are dead. It's because they don't want specifically dogs to pull the sledges,
Yeah.
and I guess it's just incidental that we don't see any non-sled dogs that are
Yeah.
not murdered or otherwise.
It would be good if we saw someone escaping on a thing and it was like 10 Jack Russells taking them off.
Oh, didn't think of that.
Screw you, vampires. Got me Jack Russells. I'm going quite slow, but I'll get there eventually.
But yeah, so he gets all the dogs. I mean, I know he's a spooky man. Do you think all those dogs would stand there while he slowly like edge towards them and stab them all one at a time?
I don't know. He's just
Because they're big dogs. I'm not sure that man would manage that if they
no.
if they got out.
All clubbed together and fuck him. He's just like a Weasley little horrible bloke, and he's probably did it nefariously in some way.
And we
He ain't brushed his teeth in God knows how long as well.
and we the last piece we see him has done. He's done this off screen. This guy has been incredibly busy, which is probably why he's built up such a powerful hunger that we see when he does appear on screen. The last thing that Sheriff Eben gets called along to is he gets he gets called out to the industrial thing where, for reasons unknown to me, in the oil pipeline station that they have there, because obviously they have oil going through there. It's the heights of deeply northern Alaska. Is that there is the machine that would, in generations to come, be used to chop up Michael Myers.
I was gonna say the same thing as well. Of all the notes I've made, Andy, I feel like you're just the Evan being someone who's got a cold, who's trying to say Evan, and now the Michael Myers mulching machine. But usually when it shows things
Triple
like
M.
in a horror film, it is
The
the
quadruple
triple
M.
M,
The
the
Michael
quadruple
Myers
M.
mulching machine.
Everybody, switch on the Michael Myers mulching machine. We're gonna finally mulch Michael Myers up. But this film, usually when it shows things, Chekhov's mulching machine
Chekhov's
don't
mulching.
get used, does it?
Does?
Does it?
Yeah.
When?
Right at the end, someone rugby tackles a vampire instead.
Oh yeah.
Gets his bloody arm and all. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think I won't. I don't want to be rude because I know it was the very end of the movie. There's definitely a period of time just before the very final scene where I was drifting off. Now I could have rewound and did it, but I honestly thought I haven't missed anything big, have I? Turns out I missed the Michael Myers multi-machine in action. Sorry.
So you've missed the quadruple M in action there, but um, we've learned something else that the quadruple M is good for, which is if you've gone and wrecked someone's helicopter, you can chuck all the bits in there.
You could chuck all the bits in.
How did he break a helicopter and take the bit? Because he said that his helicopter was
Madness.
in storage.
Yeah, I think maybe he just took a couple of things that were key to it, like not anything made. Also, is this man in love with his helicopter? Because the way he reacts is like they've killed a loved one.
Oh, bloody
I was
helicopter!
in love with that helicopter. God damn it! It knew all my deepest, darkest secrets.
Maybe it's one of those like Thomas the Tank Engine vehicles. It's got like a person. It was Budgie, the little helicopter, written
Budgie is a little helicopter. Have I
by
made that up as the
Fergie.
theme tune?
No, that's the theme tune, Fergie's own. Not Fergie from the Black Eyed Peas, the Princess Royal.
Not Fergie from the Back Eyed Peas, not Fergie, the former Manchester United manager, but Fergie, Princess Royal.
Yeah, she invented the Budgie little helicopter, shipped him off to Alaska to do tours in the off season. Unfortunately, Ben Foster has taken a lot of his components out and thrown them into the quadruple M Michael Myers mulching machine.
Michael Myers Multi Machine. Talking about, I'm sorry, going back to Fergie. I hate to do this. I hate to go off topic in such a way, but it'll be very brief, I promise. I saw one of the best Venn diagrams I've ever seen, which was Prince Andrew,
Yeah.
the Black Eyed Peas, and Manchester United. And in the very middle, it said, all fucked since Fergie left.
Very good.
I mean, visually, you need the visuals more, so you need my description, but at the same time,
Yeah.
absolutely 10 out of 10 content.
Absolutely, absolute gold content. I mean, but what a way for me to find out that Fergie's left the Black Eyed Peas, Ben.
Oh yeah, I don't know if that's true actually. Maybe she just went off to do a bit of solo work. But anyway, yeah, now we do.
So that's all happened, and then ever so hungry from those events, the stranger, as he is credited, Ben Foster to you and I, nips into the local diner and says, "Oh, give us some tinnies, will you?" And the lady behind the counter says, "No, everyone gets dead depressed when there's no sun, so we're not having booze here." He goes, "Okay, fine."
It's only just kicked
Yeah,
off there. There's 30 days a night. I feel
yeah.
like is there not
Wait,
like a
last
cut-off
order.
time? Yeah, last orders. Can I have
The
a
sun
run
hasn't
before
the sun
we
hasn't
settle
gone
in?
down yet. But it says no liquor around here while because it's depressing enough while it's eternally dark. So none of that. And I guess okay, second choice then I guess. Can I have a bowl of raw hamburger meat? And the sensible answer is I'm just going to put that through the fucking till, you idiot. Do you reckon I've got a button for that? Do you?
Oh,
hamburger
raw
meat.
hamburger meat. I'll have to set up a bowl of it as well. How much? How many burgers worth?
Yeah. I mean that's no kind of you must know. I mean, picky eaters. You've got to go with what's on the take what I mean, by all means, take what's on the menu and then say, "Oh, can I have a hamburger, please?" But without the bun and no onions.
You can do that in
Don't cook
McDonald's
it.
on the machine. You can essentially order a bun or you can order a patty on its own. You still pay the full price, but you can remove everything.
You can remove this, but yeah, but you can do that. You wouldn't
Cooked.
go. You can't just go into the McDonald's machine and say to it, "Can I have a bowl of raw hamburger meat, please?"
Yeah.
So they don't do crockery like that.
And then after his second request is rejected,
He does some big acting here. He goes,
what
"You give me what I want to drink."
you don't give me what I want to drink. Don't give me what I want to eat.
And then he kicks off and he does some classic hand grabbing, grabs the woman and is not going to let go. But the sheriff Eben comes in and goes, "Come on,
Has
try."
he got any money to pay this stranger, right? I don't know. I don't know if I believe him. I don't think he ain't got a cash or card.
Do you reckon vampires are giving him a per diem? They're going, "Well, you are working for us right now, so we'll give you some of our vampire pennies to
Yeah.
spend down
Hey,
on the essentials."
petty cash.
Yeah, they just got the float out. There you go.
I reckon they got a lot. They're about to have a lot of money. Vampires are notoriously quite
Well,
rich in
they're on a cruise, aren't they? Has that cruise ship got a bureau
yeah.
de change? Go and see
You just
the purser.
you just yeah, because it'd be fairly easy. You just steal all the cash of anyone you killed, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
We've all been there.
Plus, investments live a long time. Um,
Exactly.
So he does that, and he's kicking off about the what he has perceived as very bad customer service in the
I
show.
mean,
The sheriff
he's
comes
a bastard. He's murdered loads of dogs, so I feel like I don't want to give him any plaudits at all. However, I feel like if he hadn't murdered loads of dogs, this is kind of bad customer service. He's only asked for two. Actually, it's ridiculous requests.
I
I
mean,
mean, the first request isn't ridiculous if you don't know the ins and outs of the
of not
rules.
serving food in the depressing Eternal Darkness month. Yes,
Yeah.
you might not know that. But yeah, raw hamburger meat. I mean, by all means, try this yourself, listeners. Go into McDonald's in your local area, see if they will sell you bottles of liquor. If it's a country that doesn't sell liquor at McDonald's, then see if your second request for raw hamburger meat goes down any better.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah,
I reckon you could be rejected, and then if they do reject that as well, then you can also do some over the top acting and tell them that they haven't given you what you want to drink and what you want to eat.
and then when you kick off with the sheriff is looking like he might be in a spot of bother there. He hasn't got much backup, but don't worry because his wife that he's separated from, aka the fire warden, who's just coming to do a last spot check of the town to make sure there's no fires.
Well, I think this is after she's already missed her. So I think we skipped forward a little bit that we
Yes,
miss. So she misses her last plane out of town because a guy with
the most dangerous
the
vehicle
most
ever.
dangerous vehicle ever, which looks like it's got a fucking chainsaw on the end. He just drive
Literally,
basically nearly kills her, and then she misses her plane. Yeah, and because she missed her plane, she's essentially stuck.
she's stuck and
Um,
she's going to stay at the deputy's house with him and his wife. And they want to talk about what's wrong with their relationship and why have they separated for. He goes, oh, it's going to take all bloody month to go through that. But bearing in mind you've crashed into me with what this Jason the Wheeled Warriors mobile.
so not only has she got to stay in this town for 30 days in the dark, but also with her ex-husband.
Not ex, they're
Uh,
not divorced, just separated.
okay, separate husband.
If
You know,
they
it could
were
be a bit awkward.
2007, they're on Facebook. Their status is it's complicated.
Oh yeah, it's complicated. Don't ask. All right, don't ask, don't tell.
Bad day, don't ask. You okay, hun?
You
Inbox
okay?
me.
Inbox me, babe.
Um,
So yeah, so she comes back to the diner and trigger
she's packing
happy.
heat. Yeah, she's like
She's packing heat.
straight away, gun at the back of the head, saying, "Yeah, do you want to get your bloody head shot off, mate? I'd
Yeah,
carry on like that if you want to do." And he's arrested, is thrown in jail, and immediately being creepy as you
he's
like.
arrested and thrown in jail just for
Immediately,
immediately,
just
just for
complaining about customer service these days.
these days. Well, these days, if you complain about customer service, you get arrested and thrown in jail. Yeah, turns out you do.
Again, like I mean, obviously, it's pretty quickly that they suspect. Hang on, this aggressive and
Or he
strange man
does.
has clearly ruined all the other things in town. He's probably stabbed the dogs and
Mm.
and murdered that helicopter and burned all the mobile phones.
Yeah, I mean, it's not on, and I also hate it in films. I mean, I don't hate it. I think it's quite good, but I feel like if I was in a film, I'd be annoyed by it, which is when mysterious stranger says ominous things. I was like, shut up. Well, just tell me what you're on about then. Oh, you wait till they arrive. They're gonna be mad. They're gonna, you're not gonna survive. They're all gonna
Yeah,
get you.
cryptic things that he likes to go on about. I think you want to use the Sherlock Holmes method on that one, where you pretend to be as uninterested as possible, and then he'll give more. Then he'll give more away. He'll be like, "Oh,
Yeah,
that sounds like somebody who doesn't know fuck all." Would say, if you ask me.
yeah. That sounds like. Well, why aren't you with them then? If they're all your best mates, why aren't you with them? Why aren't you hanging out with them? Why aren't you
Oh,
here? What have they sent you on your own? Pathetic.
oh, they you say? That sounds like someone that you don't actually know what they are. I'll go to another school, do they? I wouldn't know them. No, that's
Oh,
fair enough.
your girlfriend lives abroad, does she? Oh yeah,
Oh, she's
I got
Canadian.
it.
Is she? Oh, okay, okay.
Canadian. Oh yeah, moving there, are you? Oh,
Oh,
pathetic.
righto, Ben Foster, aka the stranger. Um, yeah. So they take him off to the prison, not the prison, the sheriff station, which is
Mm.
staffed. It seems there's a deputy who we've seen who's out and about already. There's a couple of other sort of law enforcement adjacent people, and we've
There's
met,
a weed smoking nan.
yeah. Well, she's the main staff at the police station. There's Eben's kid brother, who
Yeah.
doesn't have a name that sounds like someone's got a cold. His name isn't like Dill. or anything like that. It's
What's his
um
name? Jake.
Jake.
Jake. Yeah.
Dake.
I feel
So
like
does
not much
Jake
can happen in this. Like I know earlier in the film we see Eben give that guy who lives on the outskirts of town
have a
um
ticket? So
a ticket.
I give him a ticket to remind him that he's still part of the community. Could just pop
Yeah.
over and see how he is for a cup of tea if you want to do
Yeah.
that.
I feel like this isn't the time where too much happens in terms of people needing to ever be thrown in a jail cell. So this
That's
feels like
why
it's a
that's why the sheriff station is staffed by his weed smoking nan and his brother just having a game of 40K or whatever it is he's playing on the desk.
yeah. Yeah, it seems lovely. If you get paid for that as well, I'd be
Painting,
absolutely all over it.
painting his miniatures in there. And they throw Ben Foster in jail. Eben has to go out and check out some more going
Ebenezer good.
on. Yes, it is. Ebenezer's heading out, and then Ben Foster's in there going, "Oh, they're gonna take first, and they're gonna take the woman who thinks a gun's gonna save her, or
Yeah.
grandma, or
I
this
like
little
it.
boy
That's
here."
good, Andy. It's good. It's good.
That's exactly
For a second, I'm
that's
like,
exactly how it
am I doing
sounds.
a podcast with Andy Conduit Turner,
Or
or am
Ben
I doing a
Foster,
podcast with Ben Foster? Can't
Ben
really
Foster,
tell.
all doing some method acting,
Exactly.
just balls of
Exactly.
raw hamburger
He
from.
loves method. Loves method acting. I know for a fact, right? Before he filmed this film, Ben Foster didn't brush his teeth for like 3 months, and he definitely ate nothing but raw hamburger meat and drank like
Or
Bacardi.
just asked for whiskey that he wasn't allowed.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna ask for whiskey, but can you just not give it to me so I can
I need to know
get angry?
I need to know the frustration of that. He's been at his
Yeah.
house with his partner for months to build up to this film, saying, right, whatever I ask for dinner or to drink,
Gonna have turkey Twizzlers.
yeah, everything he asks for, and like even if you've offered me something when I ask, so his partner comes in the morning. Do you want anything? I'm doing hot drinks. Do you want anything? Or just a coffee, please. Ah, sorry, I don't actually do
No.
coffee until he gets that point of frustration where he's like, "You don't give me what I want."
or does she give him something that he doesn't want? Is that it? Oh, I have a lovely coffee actually. Yeah, that'd be brilliant. And she brings him out. I don't know
Chamomile tea, chamomile tea for you.
chamomile tea. Yeah,
Oh, but
a
it's
lovely,
morning. I want to wake up, not relax. Oh, sorry.
a lovely Horlicks.
Yeah, got your mellow birds.
I've got your Horlicks, but I've not actually put that much water in it, so it's mainly Horlicks. So the spoon stands up in the mug. You're gonna have to just chew on that.
Yeah, yeah. I've got you a glass of gravy. What?
Glass of Bista. I've not even stirred it properly. It's mainly granule. I apologize.
Yeah. So until he's really frustrated, but so he's there saying vague yet threatening things to the
Oh, he
to
loves
the
he
people.
loves it, doesn't he? He loves it.
Well, out in town, it's beginning to get dark and things are kicking off already. We see these well, first someone gets I think this is when why Eben goes out in the first place. Someone has been killed off on the outskirts, right? Is it like a fisherman or like just a random worker?
Yeah, yeah, I think that's right. Someone gets killed in the power place as well. Is that straight away?
Right now, this is what we see next. I think Eben's been called off. I didn't make a note of who we've seen get killed there because this film it feels like it should be like a tight 90, but it's just shy of 2 hours, right?
Hmm.
It's a little longer than you might expect. Um,
Yeah.
but we've seen one person get got on their head be arranged on a spike, but then we see like absolute textbook inappropriate work relationship. So there is a trio of workers leaving their job at the pipeline
What
power.
the hell's going on here? I was baffled.
And I was like, they're
In
like,
a good way, I
they're
guess.
like,
Each to
they're
their
coming
own.
out saying, all right, where are we going? So we're all going to your house. And she goes, nah, you ain't going to my house. I've got a landlady. You're not gonna muck about with you two stinking the place up. I goes, all right, we'll go back to my house then. And then she basically goes, neither of you two are getting me alone, like she works with a couple of sex offenders. But then they're late again. And it's like, I tell
It's
you what,
like
we'll rock scissors paper, and then whoever wins will go to their house and goes and fuck each other or not. I don't understand what's happening
I
here.
feel like that's what's happening. It's like I feel like because it's all bets are off when it's 30 days a night.
When it's 30 days of
All
night,
bets are
everyone is
literally on
absolute animal.
freeway relationship. You know, polyamory
Is this
in
the
in
first
in
throuple we saw?
2007.
It's the first throuple we ever saw on screen, and we didn't even notice it.
Possibly, yeah, but I think we weren't given time to really notice it because one of them gets picked. I mean, the decision is immediately made for the young lady involved because
One
one
fella
of her
gets his head
potential
punched off.
partners gets what?
His head punched off.
Gets his head punched off, and yeah, and then they run away terrified, which you would, of course. But yeah, these vampires, they seem to, as soon as it's like 30 days of night, and as soon as the stranger, Ben Foster's done his business, they're just like in there going absolutely ape shit and just wazzing off people left, right, and center. And it doesn't seem like they're getting their money's worth in terms of blood. They're literally just murdering,
They
like cutting heads off, and
said this earlier. They don't eat sensibly at all. They put their heads against them and just like wobble as if they're a ghost in a house on
you'd
haunted
feel
hill.
like you'd
Like
like, I don't know, drain all
2000
the
horror.
you'd feel like you'd what, like drain all the blood and keep it going. If you had a few hundred people, you'd be just living a life of luxury. But no, they seem very, very, very wasteful.
You'd be wringing those people out into little ice cube trays and
Yeah.
making like the treat of the summertime where you put a Capri Sun in the freezer and get like a little pop. You'd be
Yeah.
making pops out of them, and like that'd be your summer.
It'd be absolutely ideal, wouldn't it?
Um,
If I was a vampire, I mean, I don't
yeah,
I
but
don't
these
know otherwise.
but they don't eat sensibly at all. But what they do is, I think they like terrorizing the town because they put heads up on the spikes all over the place to make
Yeah.
make, make people who do see it spooky and get a bit worried. But then less than half an hour into the film already, all of this has happened in the very early days. About
Mm.
minute 28, there are people being slurped out of the windows in their own houses.
Yeah. Like one guy's watching TV and his wife's like, "Oh, shall I make a lovely bit of dinner?" Slurped off out the
On
window
top of it, he
immediately.
goes out and he goes after her and he gets his leg punched.
Oh yeah, he gets his like leg punched like backwards, like
Yeah, his,
it's
his, his wife's being slurped up under the house and he's trying to hold her. And then, like a nasty little vampire arm just comes and thumps him in the leg and snaps it the wrong way.
a nasty little bit.
Ever so
Like
spiteful.
those under house, like we don't really get them so much in the UK, do we? Like the sort of crawl space
No,
stuff.
I think they
That
they
was cool.
purely exist for like a hologram to chase you around underneath the house, or for there to be
A
snakes on
horror ground. There's a Resident Evil Code Veronica bit with a like a dog or something coming out of a crawl space.
the
Um,
underhouses. Yeah,
yeah, it's creepy, but I mean it's good in this way because they kind of townspeople use them to like hide under
yeah,
a lot
definitely
of
it's
the
quite
time.
useful in that sense.
Yeah.
Um,
Um. So essentially, it all just kicks off.
it's all kicking off left, right, and centre. So people are getting slurped out the windows. When he saw the first murder, Eben has come past and said, "Hey everyone, if you've got a generator, just go to your house. If not, then go to this place, the store or the cafe, and gather at the
Yeah, I think they'll go to like the sort of diner, don't they? Where
get the diner." So
get
I've
yourself to the diner.
converted that into British. The calf, go to the calf,
Get
and
yourself to the greasy spoon, all right? We might not have raw hamburger meat, but we've got
get
a
burger
massive
meat, onion.
breakfast. Is the offer still on? Well, if I eat the massive breakfast, I get it for free. No, not during vampire invasions. That's not on. Oh, bloody hell, craving that.
Do you reckon has Ben Foster missed a trick here? Maybe we took that film running out of steam towards the end. Could he have gone and ordered all of the garlic to make sure there was none of that left as well?
Well, this is the thing. Like, there's no mention of garlic. It feels like one of those vampire films where it's like, it's kind of loosely got the vampire rules going on, but
The garlic.
crucifixes, garlic, anything like that. But I don't think we want to see a vampire looking in the mirror
Could
and
he have
not seeing his
could
reflection
he
or
have
her
gone?
reflection.
Could he have gone there and gone like, "Can I have some garlic bread, please? I'd like a pasta dish." And have garlic bread. God, that's not very garlicky. That is, and keep sending it back to the kitchen until the chef
Gar-
got like, "Is there?"
more, more
Right,
garlic.
I'll tell you this time. I'm gonna put all the garlic I've got in this shop in here, and it's like thick with garlic, and he's just eating it away. That's why his teeth are so bad. Uh,
But the vampires wouldn't go near him. No wonder they don't want to turn him into one of their own.
um, so he, meanwhile, is being a bad bloke back at things. So the vampire invasion is underway. Those that are at the sheriff's station getting there. He's kind of just they're trying to play a bit of Risk or whatever, having a game of Risk, already a stressful game. Families will fall out over it,
Yeah.
and Ben Foster's in there going, "Oh, I wonder if you're gonna be killed quite soon." And then like the little kid goes, "Shut up, man!" And
Shut up, or I'll throw a piece of risk at you.
he throws a piece of Risk at him. He goes, I just snapped that up and used it to pick the lock. And he goes, "No, you fucking won't." And he goes over to get it, but unfortunately, he's been absolutely sucked in, and he's
Yeah.
captured him. Um,
Mm.
to be fair, this is probably why I'm not an official member of law enforcement, Ben. I feel it's all things are already going. I'd have shot him to death then. Gonna soz.
Yeah, I think just finish him off in it. So Evan walks in and shoots him just like in the arm, and I do like his reaction to get him getting shot. He's genuinely put out and upset by being shot. He's like, "Ah, you shithead." He says he says like you shithead, and he looks genuinely upset. I kind of like that because it kind of showed me that this was all like a facade. It was all him kind of like acting up to it, and
Yeah,
trying to scare everyone. But as soon as he gets a little bit of pain, he's like, yeah. And then Eben like cuffs him to the bars as well.
cuffs into the bars. And you would think if this guy wants to come into be turned into a vampire, I guess at this point, in fairness to the characters, they don't know that it's vampires yet. They just think it's something bad.
Yeah,
You'd have threatened them. If you want to
bad
get to
blokes.
a vampire, I'll kill you, and you can't be one then. So you better
Mm.
start start singing,
You better
mate.
start talking, yeah. Otherwise, yeah, I will. I'll kill you, and that's it. Your dream is gone. Your dream is dead.
You'd have like fallen short, like literally just before you got to be a vampire.
Mm.
Um, but they don't do that, and then they go out to try and join the others, and they have a little bit of action where like Eben is out with Melissa George, and she goes, "Keep driving," because she sees a vampire coming. Before you know it, there's one on the roof of the truck
Oh yeah,
thumping it.
aggressive. So aggressive. Like absolutely hates that make of whatever truck it was. I bloody hate this. The emissions are through the roof.
Only by
Ice caps
American.
about soon.
Yeah, yeah.
Only by American, yeah.
And he's livid. He's thumping it, but they throw him off the roof, run him, like knock him over, and then they crack on and off they go.
Off they
Um,
pop.
I tell you what, though, this is where we probably get our first non-fleeting glance of the vampire. We've seen them in the shadows and the figures moving around. But we haven't got a close look at them yet. This is
Mm.
probably where we see them for the first time. So stepping out into the streets, doing their
Yeah.
whisper whisper Latin
Whisper.
talking,
And they do some
whisper Latin plus some noises.
yeah, a little bit of that, a little bit of clicking, and also very distinctive looking, you would say, almost like their eyes and like foreheads are kind of a bit like stretched out. They almost look like, don't they? Almost look like alien like, don't
Yeah.
they, you would say?
I say it for you, Ben. In all of the vampire franchise in the world, quite a romanticized figure. You know,
Hmm.
you had some Richard Roxburgh vampire in Van Helsing. You have your
This-
shiny vampires in Twilight. These vampires, Mingers, all of them.
Mingers, a lot of them. I
Fucking
won't want to fall in love with any of these.
right bunch of uggos. Look at no wonder they're all so horrible and spiteful.
They've all got this sort of very distinctive looking features, except like the main vampire dude. He's kind of just got the main dude played by Danny Houston. He kind of just got black eyes, I
Yeah.
guess, and
If he
a,
cut his nails, people just think he was an undertaker.
yeah, and a lovely suit as well. A lot of them are well dressed. That's what I've noticed.
Yeah,
It
and
doesn't just
also
look like
it's
any old person's been turned into a vampire and was
the
wearing
fact
whatever they were wearing.
the fact that they savage people all the time and are absolute feral animals. They're not
Yeah,
so feral that they don't get dressed. I kind of see, like thematically,
yeah.
I would kind of like to see if they are going to be as feral as they are in this, they should be in like tattered clothes. Maybe some just rinsing about the place naked, just punching people's heads off because they are like monster vampires, right? They're not like
Yeah, that's why I feel like we need to see another side to them, like their downtime, because it does seem kind of insane. Yeah.
um yeah. So they is this where we get the beautiful like aerial shots of basically the town. Everyone's getting
Yeah, I think as it kind of proceeds, it kicks off majorly where vampires are just killing everybody essentially. Anyone who's stepped outside their house is getting killed. People are trying to escape in vehicles and getting killed. And yeah, we get like this sort of aerial shot. It reminded me in a way of that shot in the Dawn of the Dead remake where you see driving sort of and it
hand
pans up and we
stuff.
see
Yeah,
sort of like all of the chaos taking place and then a gas station or a petrol station if you're from the UK gets blown up. It's kind of like that. And yeah, there's something really distinctive about blood and snow that does kind of just look, it kind of just makes the blood seem even more bloody, I guess you could say. But yeah, it's a great shot. It's effective. Is this when we see Mark Boone Jr. turn up in his version of that chainsaw car and fuck loads of people up? I don't think
he
it's yet, is it?
he goes full killdozer later on. Right now,
He just
this is
saves
when
the two
yeah,
two of them, doesn't he? Yeah.
they've come out. They're about to they get their car tipped over. We do learn at this bit that vampires aren't bulletproof because they shoot one of them's head until it explodes. But you know what else they're not proof of? Snowplows.
Snowplows, Mr. Plow.
Yeah, if you get Mr. Plowed by Mr. Plow himself, um, that's you done for, even as a vampire.
Hmm.
And they escape. We see other bits. We see like we see well actually this comes up a bit later. Before we do this, they escape in this bit and they basically manage to get themselves into a house. They understand that one of the houses, they know the community and they know that one of them has a loft ladder that no one can really see it.
Hmm.
uh, and they're all. This is where we get like a first time jump because the 30 days of
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
challenging to get the most out of a full 30 days in.
I don't think we're even really aware of how long has passed. There's no there's nothing on the screen to say day 28 or day 3 or day 6 or anything. There's nothing like that, is there?
I think it does it. I think it's a little inconsistent. Now I'm remembering back. I'm not sure if I.
I don't think it does, but maybe just in dialogue, they kind of were kind of
Yeah,
made to say.
say like it's been.
But there's a few characters as well. Like you already know that things are going to be stressful. There's like a dad who's suffering from dementia.
Yeah,
You know for a fact that that's not going to work out well for not just him but anybody. Reminds me a bit of the kid in. No offense to this old man, but it reminds me a bit of the same sort of threat caused by the kid in Burning Bright, the
yeah.
autistic
They,
kid, where
they
just like
can't. They
we're trying
can't.
to hide and be quiet from this terrible, horrible, scary thing, but unfortunately, you don't understand.
Yeah, so you're gonna do what is instinctive to you, and that's where this bit begins to come a bit undone because some time has passed. They've been hiding for a few days, but and there's already a bit of like dissent in the ranks because some of them go, well, we should go sooner rather than later. At one point, while Melissa George is having a quick look out, they've got a little bit of paper over the window that they can peep out through. Well, we see one thing: a little girl is running through the streets.
Oh, they
Eben
love
goes
doing
out.
that. They love doing a bait and switch, don't they?
Did the vampires
Sorry,
let
I'll
her
just.
go now? Is that right?
What was that?
Did the vampires turn her loose to be caught, or is that like they are doing a bit of sport, or do they just
It feels like they're doing a bit of sport.
raided them?
They're trying to draw out the others. One thing we didn't mention is the fact that the stranger does get approached by the vampires before this time jump. And the main vampire is called Marlowe, I think. Yeah, that's right, isn't it? Yeah, Marlowe.
Barlow
The
like
main
Barlow
vampire.
from
Marlowe like Barlow from
Salem's
Salem's
Lot.
Lot,
Reckon they're
yeah.
cousins.
They might be cousins. And he leans in, says something, gives him some kind words, but then just like snaps his neck, kills him. He's probably just saying, like, listen, 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 you've done great doing all the bits you did. Stellar work, especially with the helicopter. However, you do stink.
Yeah,
and your eating habits as a human being are disgusting. I do not want to know what your eating habits are going to be like as a vampire. Unfortunately, it's best for all of us, including you. If you're dead, snap your neck. It's now it says okay, here it says 18 days later. So this is the thing, like 18 days is a lot to make that first time jump. That's a hell of a lot for us to initially see that. It's almost like we're supposed to believe, essentially that nothing's happened in 18 days, that there's not
Well,
been one instance of this. It's 18 days until the vampires decide to use a little girl to. I thought that'd be like day one or day two, a little girl to draw everybody else out.
maybe they did have books to read on
Yeah,
the
this first 18 days. What on earth? Yeah.
flown by. Like, yeah, like, who knows what else they're up to? Because yeah, you're right. They've maybe it took them a while to come down with it because they've already done some other spiteful things. They did that bit in the house where there was a husband and wife and they were pinning them to the walls, and he got his. Thankfully, even in
Oh
2007,
yeah.
they had an LP player,
Yeah.
proper hipsters. And he like put his nail on the record to play it.
Yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah. Put his nail on the record. Yeah, it feels like they're just terrorizing these people, right? They're
we,
just they,
we probably saw like he was working through his music that family's music collection. He'd done that to play the record. Then he'd got all their CDs out and gone like,
scratched the shit out of them. He's got their classic PS2 games, He just
oh,
scratched the shit out of them.
one of the ones with the blue disc that's harder to read if the laser drops. My goodness. He's like, Crash Bandicoot 1. Quite hard to come by in the original package of the Platinum range anymore, if I so recall. Be a shame if someone scratches so much as a fucking coaster, wouldn't it?
Jesus. Yeah. And yeah, it feels like they're kind of having that they're playing games with these people, It's not just a case of kill and use them for blood, for nourishment or enjoyment or anything like that. They're just messing with these people.
They're enjoying torture them, and then whether released by the vampires or not, this little girl is out in the
Yeah.
streets looking for help, and she gets got by vampires. They're watching out the window, and they're kind of like circling around her, giving her a push, and like a bunch of right old bullies, and then they set upon her and eat her again, not sensibly.
Yeah.
Um, Evan does go out, and he meets. You remember a little while ago, Ben, when this fella got his wife slurped off and then got his leg punched.
Yeah.
He's been under the house this whole time, and he could look
That's
into a vampire.
that makes no sense. How on earth has he been under the house for 18 days? Or was
18
it
days being a vampire, because you get vampired pretty quick.
Oh, okay. So he's been under the house as a vampire with a broken leg for eight. Would his leg not like miraculously
Yeah,
fix Logan style?
you can shoot the heads off, can't you? I guess
Uh,
it's like you say, the vampires in this are not necessarily supernatural vampires, apart from the sun thing.
hmm.
They maybe they're just scary monster people that you can hit with a
Can kill.
snowplow or punch their legs.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh,
so he's under there, and he's at
But boring for 18 days, isn't it?
Eben fine. No wonder he's desperate to eat blood. He probably thought of everything else. Um,
I've gone through all the faults I've had in my head. I ran out.
2007, all your phones have been burned. So you ain't got podcasts to listen to.
No.
Not even
And again,
Ricky Gervais is at it then.
no. And also, where the not werewolves, vampires, do they sleep? You just be led looking at the bottom of the house for 8 hours a night.
Oh, he's looking at the wood grain, see if he can see any pictures in it.
You'd be strong enough to like crawl somewhere though, surely, wouldn't you?
Don't know. Maybe she hasn't thought of it. So
Jesus.
either way, he's under there. And Evan goes, Dave, what are you doing under the? How long have you
Dave,
been
what are we doing under there, you silly sausage?
how long have you been under the house? He goes, oh, ages.
18 days. Have you been under there for 18 days? Yeah, yeah.
At least. Oh, I tell you what, I feel like shit. I feel like absolute shit.
When does he notice? When does he notice he's a vampire? Does he just
when
like?
when he gets up, I guess it's like being drunk, and you've had a few beers at the pub and you think you're fine. Then when you stand up or go outside, you're like, oh,
How's he got up then? Why has he not got up before that?
take
What, like when the air hits you, when you're like you've been slamming the pints, but as soon as the fresh air hits you, you're like, I'm absolutely ruined.
flattered. So yeah, that's what happens. So then it's only when he stands up and like, because Evan gives him, it's like reviving a teammate in a co-op game who's like, "Dad, take a knee," and it's like revive, and he stands up. Yeah, you can't revive yourself, but they can help you up. So then when
His eyes are black.
he gets up and he goes, Oh, I tell you what. Now the air hits me. I realize I'm a vampire and I'm going to try
I
and
realize I'm
kill
a vampire. My eyes are black. I look like I'm in Cradle of Filth. I am gonna. I'm absolutely ravenous, so I'm gonna kill you.
So
Um,
he gets it's a bit 28 days later here because he goes from talking to like a
he knows the language.
like
That's
a
the thing.
clicky
You
crazy
immediately you don't need to go away and learn the language. It's built in.
that's what he's been doing. He's been on Duolingo under the house for 18 days.
But
He's
he only knows the most basic phrases.
yeah, so he's there. And with all the time he has spent doing that, he's not spent very much time working out how to avoid being tangled in a swing set, and that's what happens to him, unfortunately. A swing set that he should have been
Aware of.
in the 18 days he's been under there. He could have taken a good note as to where that swing set was. It's
I
been in the
reckon you'd
dialogue.
know. It's a small town as well. I reckon you'd be aware of your surroundings.
He gets tangled in the swings, which is enough for Eben to lop his head off. I mean,
I'll tell you what, one of the best films for head loppings off, right? We'll get to a certain decapitation, but probably one of the only films where I genuinely think that's probably what that looks like.
yeah, it's good. The head lopping is ever so good in this, and it's
Mm.
never the first time. Like no one's swinging an axe like an executioner. It's like you get
Yeah,
stuck
there's a
in there.
couple. That's what would happen, yeah. Because maybe the first one you wouldn't put everything into it because you'd be a bit like, oh, do I have to? Yeah.
He's chopping that wood. I think the only person that gets the head off clean in one is when they chop the little girl's head off later. But um,
Oh yeah.
yeah, so they I mean, he's permanently changed the scenery from outside the hidey place because he's left that guy chopped up and he goes back in. He gets back in. Unfortunately, we've split the party here. What's happened in the meantime is Melissa George is looking out the window when senile granddad gets up and goes, "Nah, I'm off, mate.
Wait,
I'm going."
is before this scene when they go to the shop though, and they go to the general store for supplies before this, right?
Ooh,
I think they do.
it may or may not be. I'm not sure if it's that or after they.
I think it's before. I think it's before because I think they're all
Oh no,
together
I
in
think it's
this group.
afterwards. I've got this
Oh,
list
it's
here. So it's
carry on then. Carry on then.
Grandpa goes to leave. They talk him out because, oh, Granddad, don't leave. And he goes, oh, okay, I won't. I'm just going to go to the toilet though. All right. Okay, then. And unfortunately, he goes out of the door. The granddad's like, I guess his son goes, oh, it's my dad. I've got to go after him, and pushes Melissa George into like a stool. Just that, I think one of those bits of furniture that purely exists for someone to bang their head on while being pushed
Yeah,
over. If
it's
this
not
has been
baby.
if this has been a soap, she'd have been killed by that.
Yeah, it's not baby proofed at all. This room, because she smacks her head on like the what looks like I don't know, a bench or a low table or something like that. Cracks her head on the corner of it. Dazed and
Oh,
confused.
Emma's the sharp.
Got battered by an old man. Oh no, it wasn't. It was the
This is
son, wasn't
fun.
it? Um,
So
and the old
Evan
fella
comes
goes
back.
out into the snow. Yeah, go on.
Evan just comes back to that. It's like, what's happened to you?
He
That's
comes.
what I had about.
It's
I had a bad time.
it's like that gif from Community when what's his
Comes
name
in with
walks
pizza
in
and
with
everything's on
pizza,
fire.
everything's on fire. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
So
Um,
we've blown our cover. Like this is so they get right. This is when they decide they have to go out for supplies. Do we see? I might have looked away for a minute here. Do we see the old man eat shit or
I don't know if we do. I was thinking that I'd be annoyed there because I'd be like, we've managed to stay hidden for 18 days. We've only got 12 left to go. 18 days, 12 left to go, and that everyone loses their nut at this point.
you've broken the back of it? You'd be counting down like that. It's like when you go for a big run. Once you've hit the halfway mark, you say, "Well, I've done it now. This is the way back."
Nothing left to worry about. Yeah, I got to get back,
Yeah.
regardless.
It's just
Awful.
making it faster. But yeah, they. So this is where they go out for supplies and they go to the shop. Good survival shop etiquette. Everyone's got a job. You're after batteries. You're after marshmallows. You're after
Yeah,
whatever. Like
this was a bit like again, yeah, reminded me of 28 Days Later. If you remember when they stop at the petrol station and they've got what have they got? What are they selling in there? Do they go, oh, do you fancy a?
yeah,
It's like a hot.
they love a tango in that.
They love a tango in that, but they stop and they go, oh, could you go for some? And they go to get some food, and in there's a little infected kid, isn't there?
Yeah. Well,
Um,
she's there slurping up someone in the shop, and then she does like a spooky British kid and thinking, oh, I finished playing with that one. She's like the Red Queen. She's
Yeah,
like,
but why is
oh,
she doing that? None of the rest of the things talk like that. And why is she dressed like the most cliche kid character in anything? Right, we got a kid, right? There's a kid vampire, right? She's got pigtails and a teddy bear in her hand.
little checkered dress.
Little checkered dress.
And she goes,
Very,
I'll
very
tell you
silly.
what, can I play with you now? And then she comes right at him, and then the rest. That's the thing. Vampires can be strong, but they're not supernaturally heavy. So even if they're strong, you
Yeah,
could
that's true.
toss them about like a leg of bloody lamb, and they do. Um, they toss her around, and everyone they're all wrestling it, and they go, "Quick, someone!" And you'll never guess who is the one to swing the axe.
Eben.
It's not Eben.
No. Oh, it's not Eben, it's Jake.
Jake, the younger brother.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty. Yeah.
I mean, as far as I mean, sometimes there would be a macho display of some kind of traditional male prowess to be marked as the moment you become a man in any number of societies, but pretty hardcore to be chop the head off a kid vampire for your transition into
Oh,
adulthood.
yeah. Exactly. Your first kill as well, you know? Very intense.
He's like, oh, she gets quite upset because oh, she was just a kid. She's a vampire. So it's a little bit
Yeah, she been killing people, you know.
I think I
Um,
put it out there, Ben. I'm not saying that I'm one of these better folks, built different, all that, but I think I'd be okay killing a vampire. I don't think I'd think about it in the same way.
yeah,
I
I'll be all
don't think
right with it.
I don't think I'd be like, oh,
Especially if they're all like,
yeah. I don't think I'd sit there and go, oh, I feel rotten for killing that kid. I'd say, ha,
I feel rotten, yeah.
sucked in
When
vampire, got you.
when does the dude who ran the Michael Myers mulching machine got?
So
Because he
this
starts
is
to turn, doesn't he?
he does get got um right right now. Um so they do that, and I think this is when they get back from doing the mission, and the guy that runs the quadruple M says, oh, little girl in the shop got me. He says, oh, he tells a little story. It's a bit like the story that Kate tells in Gremlins about why she doesn't like Christmas.
Yeah.
Like a family tragedy. It's like, oh, my family actually were got by a drunk driver that time, and I've wanted to join them all this time, but now I'm a vampire and I'm sick of it.
It's like the reveal of that happens during the story, doesn't it? That he's been
He's had his
vampired.
yeah, he's had his hood up this whole time. He puts his hood down. I think he's done something like bought them some time and done some daring actions.
Yeah.
But he's like, oh, we're back at the police station now. I should reveal that I am a vampire. And I feel ever so thirsty, actually, but I'm a nice bloke. So do you just want to pop in this room with us and shoot me real quick?
Well, it's not even shoot me, is it? It's like pop in here and lock me head off. And there's two, and we hear two axe swings as well. So obviously, Eben didn't make a clean cut of it initially.
Yep.
Cut his ear off the first one. Second one, I
didn't
got
get didn't get through the hood of his parka. Um,
him.
so that's that, and then that's when they realize Grandma, who got sorry everyone who was hoping for the fate of Grandma, she got off screen by the vampires earlier when they left the police station. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, she's just gone at one point, but we do know that um she used to smoke weed every day, so because it helped her with the cancer. So don't worry,
Smoke weed every day.
that's what Grandma says when she gets up in the morning. So she was growing her own actually with her
Yeah.
special sun lamps. They say, hey, this is good opportunity. Should we use this quite ineffectively just to get one vampire incidentally and then not use it again?
Should we use it ineffectively to get one vampire and then I'll immediately turn the power off? And then that'll be it. Yeah. So Eben, like, it's essentially a diversion, isn't it? Because everybody else is going to head for the. Where are they going to go?
They're heading for
Because
the pipeline place, right? The
the
oil.
pipeline. That's right. Yeah, they're heading there. So Eben creates a diversion by they all chase him to his grandmother's house.
And then
Um,
he whacks the generator on as it's like Alan Wake. He has to do a little QTE where he's pulling the chain
it's
to get it
horrific.
going.
I feel like there's too many elements that could go wrong. A, got to get there, turn the generator on, hope it works, hope it comes on smoothly after 18 days. B, find this bloody massive ultraviolet light lamp, plug it in, and then manage to switch it on like just at the right moment.
And he just
Um,
and he kind of just like the it's the main vampire's girlfriend. I don't know how their society works. Maybe they're not exclusive, but
yeah.
it's a lady vampire that he's been hanging around with an awful lot of the time who loves a good scream.
He,
She's
like
first
gives
in the
he like
door.
gives her permission though, doesn't he? Like she looks back at him as if to go, "Can I go in and fuck this guy up?" And he goes like,
Yeah, go on.
which is translated to yes, of course.
Yeah. And in she goes, but she catches a flash of the super light, which is as Eben is falling over and just. I feel like,
Yeah,
again, this opportunity, you could have got that and used it for a trap and maybe not got all of them. But the idea is that you're just going to be herring it into the house and you're going to shine it on one of them
yeah,
is it's quite a waste. But
yeah.
he
It is a bit
does,
of a waste. It's
and then
unfortunate, isn't it?
she does get ever so poorly. She's got half her face burned off, and the
She's
vamp.
absolutely sizzled. She looks like she, we've all done it, and back in the day, it's not good. If I was I wouldn't want to say this to a fireman because he would berate me. But we've all got back from a night out and we've gone, do you know what? I fancy a takeaway, I fancy something, but I've only got this shitty old margarita pizza. I'm gonna sling it in the oven, but then unfortunately you fall asleep, sat on the
Passed out.
sofa.
Yeah,
And you wake up and the
it's
pizza's been
dust.
absolutely cremated. It's dust. That's
Yeah,
what her face looks like. No offense to this vampire woman, but her face looks like that.
basically
She's
dust.
been sizzled.
And I tell you what, I got no sympathy for him here because the vampire, the head vampire, looks like his feelings are ever so hurt now that shoes on the bloody other foot, isn't it?
Yeah, there we go.
And
How does that make you feel, mate? Yeah, you've murdered everyone in this town and everyone they love.
maybe you want to think about that next time you go off doing murders. You know that you're pointing the finger at Eben for
I don't.
torturing your
Yeah.
girlfriend. Think about those three fingers that are pointing right back at you. Um,
I don't think they've got those sort of feel. Like it's weird. They've obviously got some level of feel, but the fact that their eyes are sort of black, they're almost like shark-like, aren't they? And they're sort of um controlled by their sort of lust for
he
blood.
looks
There's not
he looks
much humanity to them.
he looks like he's in a right suck about it. He's like,
Bloody hell.
and
Oh, it's
he
such a
looks
such a
he
bloody
looks and
emo.
he closes her eyes. I guess I'll rest now. But just does the classic.
Does he just close her eyes? Or
I think he
does he
snaps the
like
neck.
snaps?
No,
He loves
no.
snapping her neck, doesn't he?
Oh, does he snap a neck or does he bite her and like say, right,
I
I'll
think
I
I think
guess
he
I'll,
bites her actually, but
guess I'll slap guess I'll slap you out for old time's sake.
Oh,
Yeah, so he does
Jesus.
that and then she's gone, but his feelings are ever so hurt. So he sends everyone to turn off the power and go after Eben. He's on the radio going, yeah, so they're gonna turn the power off any time now, so bye. And he's running.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, then this is when our matey, the guy that lives on the edge of town, proves
Yeah.
he's still part of
B
the community.
Bo Bra Bo Brower, his name is, and he says it's my turn now. And he basically goes ape shit, and then he's got
Gets out the kill dozer, which is
he does Spartan Rage in God of War of Spartan Rage, where you just go, "Roar!" And you've just got all your weapons at one go. He's got like a shotgun, he's got the killdozer.
the kill
Um,
dozer, which for anyone who hasn't seen the movie, it's like a bulldozer with a chainsaw on the front.
yeah, essentially, yeah. It's probably a legitimate thing, and it well, it is. I'm sure it
I
is a
guess it's
legit.
for chopping through like really thick, tall bits of ice.
Yeah,
Um, and he's raging through there. He's blasting vampires left, right, and center. I wasn't quite so sure about how this bit ended because it feels like at,
he
at one point he just goes, "Well, my kill streak's too high. I'm just going to crash this into a hotel now."
so he like crashed it into a hotel, and then he like blows himself up, but like not
But
properly.
not.
He's got like maybe he's got some gasoline, and then he's got some flares, and he blows
Got,
himself up. Because you see him sort of like
got,
fly away.
got flares and a bomb, and he's standing over it because he basically says, "Oh, you're not going to get me." Throws the flare into a bomb. He said, but that bomb just blows him clear of the explosion rather than killing him.
Yeah, doesn't kill him, but then Marlowe like finds him and crushes his head like
The head,
like
head
that bit in Drive when Ryan Gosling kills that guy, and then it somehow works as making his love interest horny. Uh, so yeah, crushes his head, and then they all like get to the station.
Well,
Oh, wait, oh,
as they get
oh,
there, like, yeah, we see Billy, the deputy. He finds him, whereas Josh Hartnett's Eben, his beard hasn't really grown in the 18
Yeah.
or
So
maybe.
apparently this is another time jump to day 27 when this happens.
Okay, so maybe some of them have headed for the station, and Eben is waiting for another opportunity because they wait for blizzards because there's no visibility to do those things.
Yeah, and then they leg it.
He finds his way to Billy's house where he's hiding out, and you know what Billy's gone and done, Ben? He's done of the mist, doesn't he?
Billy has done the mist. And not only has he done a mist, Eben's absolutely furious with him.
I know that'd be the last thing you bloody need because Billy's a distraught man. Said basically didn't want my family to get eaten by vampires, so I shot him, and I was gonna shoot myself, but the gun broke.
Oh yeah, likely story, Billy.
There's
What's
a,
that? You murdered your children and your wife, and then
I'm
when it came
sick of
to
them.
you, what's that? You luck? Did you luck out or did you just wimp out, Billy?
There's only one Milky Way. But yeah, the
Jesus.
the Billy, clearly a distraught man. Like terrible things have happened in a however many days it's been now of horrible vampire murders, and he's taken the decision to mercy
I
kill
wonder.
his family.
I wonder when he did it though, because he said he heard so many people screaming when he did it. Like, did he do it like what day one or something? Or
35 minutes in. Um, yeah, but first thing he's got, then Eben like vessels him to the ground and goes, "Oh, you'd never hurt your family," and it's like, well, thanks for this retroactive lesson. Now, I put it to you. There's two options here. I've killed my family, and that's an unchangeable thing at this point. Now you've had a go at me. I've killed my family and feel terrible about it.
I
So
feel terrible. There's a really unintentionally funny moment now is when they like take him out into the blizzard and they're like running in slow motion, and Billy is just like sobbing uncontrollably in slow motion, all the snow getting in his mouth. Just kill me, just kill me. I'll be like, have you got a gun that works? Because I'm well overdue a suicide. Give it here. So yeah, and after that is when I think they do all make for the station at this point as well.
they
Um,
do all make it. Melissa George does get lost in it because he's going after. But I lost it a bit here. I was like, how did because Billy kind of steps out into the street. He goes, "No, stay there," and he steps out in the street in front of the vampires. But then just goes
yeah, it was like
goes round a corner, and that's all right.
yeah, it was weird. So Stella, there's another little girl. Her family's been slaughtered, and for some reason, she's managed to survive this whole time. We don't really know. And then we see a vampire we've not seen before. He's got a name as well. His name's Zuriel, apparently. So you know the guy with the sort of the black hair.
Yeah,
Um, looks a little bit like who does he look like? Looks like
the
someone.
ghoul.
Yeah.
It looks like a bit like the ghoul from Sinister, a film that I'm surprised you haven't
Yeah,
done an episode on.
it's true. And he's doing the scream and he's kind of like chasing this girl, but Stella manages to like save her and then they hide under a house again, don't they?
They
Which is
hide, they hide under a house. Billy's escaped because I don't know that he just wasn't in their line of sight, or they looked and went, "Whose footprints are these?" And they went looking in the other direction. I don't
yeah.
I don't know what happened, but they've escaped, and Billy and Eben make it to the pipeline, the power station, whatever this thing is.
Yeah.
Um,
And
and
they're follow there's another the vampire that follows them, the bald vampire. Do you know what his name is?
no, Batista,
Batista Bomb. Um Arvin. What a stupid
Arvin.
name. I'd be well annoyed if that was my vampire name. Okay. And this one's called Zuriel. Oh, great. That sounds amazing. If his name's Zuriel, what's my name? We're gonna give you the name
Agamemnon. No, no.
Agamemnon. We're just gonna call you Arvin. Arvin? What, like
Sounds like you're a
one word
mischievous
different?
chipmunk boy.
Yeah, one word different from Alvin. Am I like Alvin's long lost twin, Arvin? They definitely done an episode like that. Uh,
Maybe that's what they sang
yeah.
all the way over to wherever they came from on their cruise ship. He's like, "Watch out, because here we come." He's there and he's doing like his
Oh,
vampire version of the We're the Chipmunks song. Um,
bloody hell.
but
Yeah, he'd be devastated, wouldn't you? But yeah, he follows them there, and I think think he bites Billy is when they're having the big fight, and that's obviously when he
Right,
ends up going into
fights
the
Billy
mulching
while they're
machine.
rumbling him, and he almost pushes Eben in. But yeah, then Billy, for the final act of heroism, tackles him
Mm.
into the quadruple M trademark, the
Into
Michael
the
Myers mulching
quadruple M
machine.
trademark. I think this is maybe this moment I dozed off, which is weird during an action set piece. Shouldn't have
But
dozed off, but I definitely remember.
unfortunately,
I definitely remember the head getting lopped off. So I must have
yeah,
only.
well, it's not only that because in pushing him into the mulcher, unfortunately, he doesn't stay behind the safety line. His arm gets in it as well.
Oh yeah,
So is that his
painful.
arm? Is that his arm mulched off?
It's good at eating helicopter bits, but it's also good at eating arms.
You can. It's a metal masher, really, but you can smash anything up there that you put in there, including your arm and a vampire.
Yeah, if
So
you're gonna
he's
put
there going,
flesh and bones in there, it's gonna be ruined, isn't it?
he's screaming, he's lying there going, ah, bloody hell, bloody hell. But he starts looking a bit vampire-y while he's doing it. So Evan goes, I can take
Yeah.
solace in the fact you would die anyway. Chops his head off.
This is a
Um,
horrific, like a really horrific but amazing decapitation effect because it's like the best look we get at a decapitation and the most well lit decapitation. And it looks so real. Like the first one kind of gets him a bit and his head's kind of like hanging off, and the second one, it just looks super, super painful.
does his
And
head go in the mulcher or no?
I'm not
Off to the
sure.
side.
Off to the side, maybe, yeah. That sounds about right, doesn't it?
Um,
Um, so yeah, he's dead. And then essentially the month is coming to the end, but for some reason
it's gonna be
they've
morning. It's coming.
it's gonna be morning, like literally next day. But for some reason they've imposed this um that like
Uh,
they've got to save. Oh, it's because they start burning the town, isn't it?
the
That's right.
vampires are going to do a cover up. So the vampires have scratched the oil pipeline and they're leaking crude oil all over the town. So
Mm,
vampires, not only dickheads to all the people of the town of Barrow, absolute cunts to nature as well. So
yeah.
if you are saying, I'll tell you what, I'm going to burn all this stuff up. And the guys are looking onward saying, well, not only are they going to burn up Melissa George and the kiddie under hiding under the car, no vampires ever kneel down to have a bit of a look.
Yeah. And
Um,
plus it's made to think that they've got great senses of smell as well, because there's a I can smell your bloodline in the minute as well. So how can they not smell them just under there, under the car?
it's too high. It must be like when I'm looking for my keys or something. I'm walking around and I'm like, where are they? Never look up or look at a particular level.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, can't find them. And like the not feeling into stereotypes, maybe vampires use different gender stereotypes. The female vampires like, have you actually looked? Have you actually moved anything to look, or have you just walked around the room and vaguely like glanced where you think the things
They're
might?
always in the last place you look. Well, I'm not going to find them and keep looking, am I?
Yeah, I might do that next time. Yeah. Um. So they haven't found them. So I guess it's partly to basically cover up because then someone else they goes, oh, they'll do this town.
Yeah.
No one will know, and then next year they'll come and do the. Other... They're thinking of
But
doing like a tour, doing this every year.
but then someone says like, oh, they'll just think it was a terrible accident. I'm like, what? It's like more than a terrible accident. What happened? Turned out the old town burned down and everyone died. No one escaped.
Yeah,
That's
well,
awful.
it would
How did
appear
that happen?
in the panic of this fire happening, we all threw their phones into a big pile
Yeah, yeah.
and then just like punched their legs off and snapped their necks and
And
did
30
all
days
sorts of...
before, murdered all the dogs.
Yeah.
Something mad's going on.
So
Um,
that's the vampire's big cover-up plan. And Eben goes, I'll tell you what, they're burning it up. If she and he goes, oh, if she runs, they'll see them, and if they don't run, they'll burn up. I assume. So there's only one thing for it. I feel like there wasn't only one thing for it at this point. What about you?
no. I feel like what Eben did is that he had an idea, and rather than going, that idea, it might work, but it's pretty nuts. I will try and think of another idea first. No, for some reason, he's like, this is the only idea. He could have ran in a different direction, screaming. He could have done a lot of things. I mean, he could have sacrificed himself in another way, but I guess he wanted to take a few of them with him. So yeah, he gets some of Billy's infected blood and
Sticks it in it.
injects it,
Don't know where
sticks
he
it
got the
straight in
needle
him.
from. So yeah,
Yeah,
grabs
that's
the needle.
that's a good point. Maybe there's like a, I was gonna say a first aid kit, but I don't even think you even get like needles and stuff in first aid
Yeah,
kits, do you?
I'll have a swear it in. He says to his brother, like, tell you what, some of the goodies actually they stayed themselves for a little while after being a vampire. So I hope that
It's
works
not
for me.
it's not
Look
like cut and
extra.
dry, though, is it? It's not science. It's not like they stayed themselves for a little while. He could have just injected himself and immediately gone. So yeah, he injects himself. It immediately hurts him. He immediately gets a tummy ache from it.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
then he says,
all right, Gippy
"Oh,"
tummy. Sorry, let's have a sit down.
and then he goes, "I could smell your blood," which is nice. And then he walks out to essentially confront all the big group of vampires led by Marlowe.
What entrance
Um,
would you want if you just turned into a vampire and you were going down to face them in 2007 specifically?
in 2007, maybe drowning pool. Let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor. And then you do, and then as the cymbals hit, you bring the hood down, fly, and then just sprint towards him,
Could do
and
that, or
then
you could do. I might go for from Michael Bay's Transformers. What I've done by Linkin Park.
ah, absolute classic. Have you seen the Twitterisms where it's like, what if this film was made in 2007? And it's always like a film ending, like cut into a black screen as what I've done kicks in.
What
What
do?
I've
Yeah,
done.
so I reckon
That'd be great.
that'd be what I'd go for. I think, and
Drowning Pool probably should would have been like 2001 rather than 2007.
yeah, he'd have been all over it, and he walks down and he goes, "Here, lead the head vampire is like, hold me back, lads, hold me back." Hold
Hold me back, lads. He's like confused initially, isn't he? Or he's like feigning confusion because it's almost like a sort of lion pride face off, isn't it? Like, I'm the king of the pride now,
for the
right?
king of swingers, the jungle
I'm the king of
VIP.
the swiggers now. Juggle VIP, I'll fuck you up.
And then he
Um,
comes down and they goes, "Oh, come on then, come on then. Like it's a good job all these lads are, otherwise we just fight." No, we can just fight if you want.
let's just fight with the backdrop of a burning town. You know, I mean, we're both vampires. Let's go. I'd be embarrassed if I was Marlowe though, because Marlowe's been a vampire for I'm assuming quite a while. Eben has been a vampire for mere minutes, and you know,
He's got a lot of moves, and Marlowe is beating him. He's doing a lot of his vampire moves. He's doing scratches with his big nails. He's very good at being over and then doing a flip, and he breaks Eben's arm. But there's
yeah,
a move he doesn't see coming, which is the fist through the gob
that's yeah, because obviously Marlowe gets ahead of himself, does like a running jump towards him, so all the momentum's with him essentially,
with his mouth wide open.
with his mouth wide open. Ah!
He's
That
also
is
paint a big bullseye in the middle of his mouth.
that is straight from the comic though. That exact moment is in the comic.
You're reaching
The
for the book right now.
the punching of the face. I don't know, actually, I think this is just a preview copy. No, I've said I thought it was the full one, but yeah, it's essentially a panel in the comic is just the punch square through the head, which is effective. I don't know about the effect. I was a bit like, what? Looked a
Ah,
bit nuts.
yeah,
Perfectly fine.
perfectly fine above the time, and he's gone. And then the other vampires at this moment are like, um, oh, sorry, is that the
Left.
time?
It is pretty much nearly dawn though, so I honestly don't blame them.
Where do you
I
reckon they
think
go? Do you reckon they just they
yeah,
just go
it's
back to
weird
that?
because
They just go back to that boat, and they're just on there now.
there's nowhere to hide, is there really? Like, you can't just go and chill because if the sun comes up pretty quickly, they got to get there quick, sharp. They got to sprint to this boat.
That's where they all go, and then just you're just actually quite lucky that we have to go now because otherwise we'd do you, mate. Um,
Otherwise, we'd absolutely kick your head in. But see you later. You're lucky. Next time, for
next,
sure.
next time, but we do, like I can't stress enough. We do have to go now, so we
We
can't.
don't have to go immediately now.
We do, we, we
Yes.
do, we do, we aren't able to finish this with you now, which we could, but we can't because of timing.
Yeah.
So they
Um,
they go, and
Eben and Stella are like kind of reunited. Obviously, he saved them. Um, And then essentially, rather than going, I'm just going to live my life as a vampire now, I'm essentially immortal. He's like, I actually have already had enough. I can smell your blood, but I know for a fact that I can't eat human food anymore. Chips are off the menu. I love chips. There's
He
no
can't have
point.
what he wants to drink. He can't have what he wants to eat.
He can't have what he wants to drink or eat. He knows exactly how the stranger feels. Um,
Um,
so
yes.
he sort of resigns himself to
Tell you what, I'll
just
watch
dying.
the sunrise with her. And we have a scene that we forgot to mention it when Melissa George is under the car. She says, oh, "I wish I should have never left you. I put it to you, Melissa, that had you left him and not gone back to the town, you'd been fine."
Yeah, he'd have been absolutely fine.
Um,
Yeah.
but it's a nice thing to say in the inevitable. I don't think necessarily we saw them work through the issues of their relationship. Um,
No, and in a way, that's kind of like quite refreshing, isn't it? It's not like, ah, we don't want to put a sort of love story in the middle of this as well. It feels like a genuine human relationship is sort of happening while all the terror
you know,
unfolds around them.
it's nice and it's kind of reconciled, and they have a cuddle up together, and then come sharp for a minute when the sun comes up. He like goes, oh, and then
Oh
it's
yeah, it does look painful though. Like he does look. She's kind of holding. Also, she's like holding his head, but I'd be like, I don't know really know what happens when a vampire turns to ash. So I don't know if I want to hold his head because I bet what if he explodes? What if he's just on fire and that kills me as
what
well?
if he actually catches fire? Yeah,
Yeah, seems dangerous.
but
But
it sort of turns into it's kind of like from a film point of view, like he's been Medusa and he turns to practically stone, but then he just Infinity Wars away, right? So
yeah, just turns to dusty dust. Yeah, and there we go. And that's it. That's the end. That's the end of 30 Days of Night. Not a very nice ending, essentially, even though some people do survive. Eben,
sweets, not Evan though.
not Eben, not
The
Ebony and
I've
Ivory.
I've only read the synopsis on Letterboxd for the sequel, but his wife goes off for revenge.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw that. So a different actress, though, isn't it? It's not Melissa George.
Yeah, a different actor goes to not a 30 Days of Night place, I think either. I think she
No,
goes just like
LA.
yeah,
Yeah,
goes to LA and
mucking about
attracts
in
the
LA.
vampires in an urban setting, goes around LA and like I don't know, posts some derogatory things about vampires on the internet there.
Vampires suck, literally. Yeah, there we go. Have you got any name game?
Got a couple for you, Ben. Bear with me a
Thank
second.
you. I've only got one currently, so
Read me the have you got the synopsis up there that you can read to me and then I can work it into.
after an Alaskan town is plunged into darkness for a month, it is attacked by a bloodthirsty gang of vampires.
Okay, so after an Alaskan town is plunged into darkness for a month, it does disrupt one young man's grandma's Christmas shopping for him. And unfortunately, thanks to an extended family, he gets 30 copies of a late 90s, early 2000s Madonna album,
30 Rays of Light.
30 Rays of Light. Very good.
What a
You got,
banger.
you got yours?
I mean, I've only got one, so I'm going to leave the rest to you. Um, After an Alaskan town is plunged into darkness for a month, a load of thirsty vampires, not necessarily bloodthirsty, thirsty vampires, come
Okay.
to the local diner, and rather than saying we're going to suck all your blood, they say, "Can we order 30, 30? If you've got them, can you just bring them out on individual plastic flat surfaces?
Okay.
Um, can I have that? But my favorite lemon lime fizzy drink, please."
30 trays of Sprite.
30 trays of Sprite.
Ever so
Exactly. They just love it. They're doing a Sprite challenge where you down it and then you do a big burp. That's it.
Yeah, really try and like fill themselves up with so much liquid that if you tip over, it'll just pour back out of your body.
Exactly.
My dog does that sometimes. He drinks so much water that
Oh my God.
the water like sloshes back out of his stomach. The next one is bored after an Alaskan town is plunged into darkness for an entire month. A man trains his intelligent horse to whinny um, for units of measurement and then delights the town by having him bleat out the the tallness of all of the people come round, all the people that
Thir-
come visit him.
30 nays of height.
30 nays of height, very
That's
good.
pretty good. I
Um,
wouldn't expect a horse to be able to identify that.
um, after after an Alaskan town is plunged into darkness for a month, a doctor, exasperated with explaining to a senile patient how many times they have to squirt their throat medicine into their mouth, finally just loses their temper and says that they need to do it 30 times and checks their understanding.
30 sprays of
It's more about
night
the tone of
nurse.
how you said it. So basically, 30 sprays, all right.
30 sprays, all right. I like
And
it.
then and then the
Oh,
last one.
I got
Oh,
another
go on,
one. Sorry,
go
I
on,
got another
go
one.
on.
Um, after Alaskan Times plunged into darkness, the very final scene of this movie sees Eben inject himself with the vampire blood, and he goes and squares off with what's his name, Marlowe, and he says, "Look, we could do this in a boxing ring. We could do this in a wrestling ring. We could do this in an MMA cage if you want to do that, and I'll give you 27 other ways that we could do it.
Is it 30 ways to fight?
30 ways to fight, yeah."
Ways to fight. My last one for this week then is after an Alaskan town is plunged into darkness for an entire month, local local naturalists really struggle to understand the effect it's had on the local squirrel population who appear to have made their nests out of feces.
30 something of shite.
Yeah, it's in the straight. This really depends on your primary school animal knowledge. What's a squirrel's nest called?
Hey,
It's a dray.
a
30
dray.
drays, 30 drays of shites.
Did they ever make their drays out of shite?
Not that I know of, but I'm not Chris Packham. I've never claimed to be, so
No, don't claim to be. Okay, there we go. Is that it?
that's it for me.
Amazing. I've got no more, so that was fun. I guess we got to rate the movie now. Where you standing? Where you standing on this? 30 days.
Yeah, you know what? 30 Days of Night. I have a fondness for it from back in the day. I think watching it back with modern eyes and where we've come in horror and where I am in life now, like it's not the same lofty heights maybe from back in the day, but it's not as terrible and cheesy as people give it shit for. I
Hmm.
can perhaps give some comment that thinking about its timeline is a little bit bizarre. Like there are some bits that are a bit labored and carry on a bit, whereas there are other bits where then a week of time just passes and it's a bit distant.
Yeah.
Uh, I know that they did some miniseries of this, and I think the excellent concept of this might lend itself very well to a series. I
To a
mean,
series, yeah.
if you really leaned into it, and I mean it'd be a long series, do the full 30 days, do it 24 style,
Oh, yeah.
30 episodes each of, well, actually, maybe even
Even if
more.
a couple of days are
Day
just people
before,
sat in silence.
day before, do a day before and a day after. Do a 32 episode series of the 30 days
Yeah,
of night. And with enough interesting characters, you could really pull it off, I think. But
I'll be up for that.
conceptually, I love it. There are some great little effects in there. There are some great little shots in
Hmm.
there. It's a bit of a product of its time, maybe, but there's there's stuff to enjoy here. And I think as a conceptual piece, I think it's something that I would
Hmm.
watch more of, or I would watch. I know, Ben, absolute heresy, but I'd quite welcome a remake of this. Take this idea and have a fresh take. I mean, because the comic, there's more content in that than we saw adapted. Even if it was just conceptually, and then you did another type of film with this. Now, I'd sit through a fresh.
Soft reboot.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, been
Back to
16
the
years, isn't it? Let's do it.
back to the score on this one. Like, I don't think I'd watch it that often. I think the flow is a little bit disjointed for that, but I'm still going to give this I'm gonna go C plus. I enjoyed it.
Okay, okay, that's nice. I'm gonna go a little bit higher because I do have a fondness for this movie, and even though I can understand some of the problems it's got, I think in terms of a adaptation from comic to film, I think it's pretty well done, and I think it genuinely is quite scary. Like the single location, abandoned location, it's constantly nighttime, everyone's hiding in the dark and being quiet and stuff. Like it is genuinely scary, and I think it does lean into heavily into things like The Thing and 28 Days Later and Away, things that aren't focused on vampires. So that's cool. I think it's a nice take on the vampire as well in terms of the way the vampires look and act. Um, and yeah, I think it has some problems with as I said, the timeline, and the plot gets a little bit stuck there where it kind of goes like, oh, now it's 18 days later. Oh, by the way, there's another 9 days. I don't think it feels quite right, does it? Doesn't feel like we're spending 30 days here. It feels like we're just spending a couple of days in Barrow. But still, apart from that, I think I'm just going to go for a straight B because it's definitely a film that I've always got fond things to say about, and I would, in another couple of years, I'm sure I'd be happy to watch it again. Will I go and watch the sequel? I don't know. Maybe, probably not. Set in LA is a
Okay.
bit weird, but the miniseries stuff sounds pretty interesting, and it has made me want to go and revisit the comic book again.
You've hit that I forgot to mention there, Ben. Actually, the comic book element of it is an interesting thing. Think about the time it was made. I mean, don't know if you've got them off the top of the dome. Is this the? It's roughly the same era, right? When we were getting 300 and Sin City and things like that, right?
Yeah, I think so. Well, I
Yes.
think it was kind of like I reckon 2002, 2003 that
A
the
bit
comic
after
the
that,
comic
maybe.
sort of came out.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I think there's some interesting things for a comic book movie. It's an interesting adaptation, and I think maybe this is perhaps looked at in less favorable eyes for people who are looking at other genre pieces. I think you can consider this as a comic book movie. We've
Hmm.
had some great things from from that subgenre more recently, but I think there's stuff to enjoy here. And you know what? Leaning into wouldn't we live in a blessed timeline if they'd taken this kind of visual approach and this kind of horror treatment when they made Dr. Michael Morbius at your service?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Imagine Morbius being a gross vampire like this.
It's not Morby you. It's not Morby me. It's Morby us. Um, exactly. That would have been good.
That'd
Uh,
be good. Yeah, this there's approaches to recommend here, I think.
mm, yeah, definitely. There we go then. That is it. That is 30 Days of Night. Thank you very much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, become a patron over at patreon.com/horror hangout. Thanks to our current patrons: John Crinham, Ben Scaife, Stephen Christopher, Laura Kendrick, Toby Miller, Lane Spencer, Ollie Child, Leslie Carlo, Julia Bilgren, Nick Spill, Troy Birch, and Pazuzu. Thanks to Taj Easton for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Please consider giving us a rating or review and head over to the Facebook group Horror Hangout Board of Advisors for more. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook and TikTok. Just search Horror Hangout Podcast. You'll find us. Next week, we're doing a brand new release, first new release of the year for us. Megan/Mafregan, however you want to say it.
I am proper excited for Mithrigan, Ben. I'm not
Proper
sure about
excited
you.
for Mafregan. Diminutive killer/robot.
All lots of the best things. There's a little murderer. There's a robot person. There is. I'm not reading any of them because I don't want to spoil it for myself. But
Yeah.
views of this have been quite strong, right?
I think so, yeah. I've not really been paying too much attention. Again, I want to kind of be surprised by what we get. So
I
yeah,
don't want to
looking
read
forward.
anything. I want to go zero spoilers. I've not watched any like final launch trailers since I
No, me
interacted
neither.
since I interacted with Robot Mithrigan
Oh
on.
yeah.
She tweeted me the other day. Say, all right, Andy, I'm at the
All right,
cinema on
Andy.
Friday. See you then. I will.
See you then. It's a date. How exciting. Looking forward to that
Yeah,
next week. Nice one.
not wait. For
Until
now, though,
then, thanks, Andy. I sometimes forget to say this, but thanks, Andy, for being a right horror dude.
thanks to you for being a right hard dude, Ben. And indeed, thanks for all of you out there being right horror dudes.
Thanks for
Um,
tuning in.
yeah, hopefully vampires don't get you in these dark times, unless you're in the southern hemisphere where it's summer. In that case, I hope
Yeah.
vampires don't get you in the shorter nights. But
We just hope vampires don't get any of you, you know? Hope you can keep listening forever. Maybe if vampires got us, we could do a never-ending horror podcast
we
to
would
the end of
complete
time.
hor- we would complete horror movies.
We
But
officially would.
all the pain in the ass admin of being a vampire, though, is that a life you'd want to live, or would you just chip around until the
Yeah,
sun comes up and get dusted?
maybe that. Maybe I'll do that.
We'll consider that for the next week. Bye
We
for now,
will.
everybody.
See you later, everyone.
See
Bye.